Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League, WTRL, presented by WTRL. Well, I think I'd say the other way around. WTRL Zwift Racing League. We're out on week number 3. We're on the Richmond World's Course, and we have the top tier now that we're into week 3 of the divisions. Everybody has been pooled together that has earned a spot into that top tier of the pools, the super divisions, essentially, of the European, as well as earlier in the APAC and later today in the Americas East and the West. They will all be competing against each other on this course to try and battle for those top spots at the end of the season to be promoted into the league above. So pretty interesting how things are starting to play out now, Dave. We're now starting to see the cream of the crop rise to the top. What building a sport is all about.
Yeah, you want to talk about separating the wheat from the chaff. We did that through the first few races here, and now we're locked and loaded. It's an unbelievably challenging course. I love Richmond. There's no doubt that this is the racer's race that you're looking for. If you have that the full quiver of talent that's needed, you're going to use every arrow you've got out here today. Libby Hill, 23rd, Governors, and then we have a lot of bonification along the way, Nathan. This is a points-based series, and we're going to have 8 different intermediate sprints. We'll call them preems throughout the day. Watch out for these bonuses. They do damage, and you'll see the counterattacks coming off of these. It's going to be a Donnybrook out there today. And this is really the division right now, EMEA. This is going to be Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Nathan, this seems to me like this is the highest concentration of talent that we have right now, and this is going to be the Super League.
Yeah, to get into this specific division, you had to kind of battle. Well, you did. You battled to be the top tier amongst 8 events, essentially, across 8 events, which is, I mean, that's a lot of competition. There's just reality that on pure numbers, APAC, it had, a single event, and then America's East and West, you got, one event also down in the West. In the East, you have, I believe it's like 3 events. So, yeah, there's a lot more competition to go through for this specific division. So, definitely have a whole lot of heavy hitters showing up out here. Now, we're going to be checking out your chat. We are live over on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, as well as YouTube. So you want to bring in any cheers, let us know what your predictions are, who you're cheering for. Any questions, do let us know. And we definitely want to hear all about it. If you want to check out the results for any of this, definitely head on over to WTRL.racing. And you can also follow along with the live data over on Zwift Power. Before we jump into the racing, it is about actually 12 seconds. They're taking off actually pretty quick here. We're going to take a look as before we get into the first sprint section, which is probably about 5 minutes-ish into the race. We'll take a look at how things are standing at the moment and give some shout-outs across all the categories in this top division. So here's where things stand as is. At the top here, we've got Fusion ECT with 36 points. DBR RT, 26. DZR Danish Dynamite, they're sitting at 24, tied with 4th with Vikings Ragnarok. Dirt Wolfpack, followed up by WTR Volendam. WEZ Evo Extra Turbo Snails. Wahoo Lacole's up there, and I have a feeling we're going to be seeing some Ed mode out there on the climbs for the sprints out there today. And then VCRT Dogo's there. In the B category, there you go, David. How'd you take that away?
Yeah, I heard, Nathan, there's Ed Mode merch available now. Look for that online. Here we go, DVR Tornadoes. So when you look at the division that we looked at a moment ago, the A's, you could see that Fusion, they had a massive lead. It's not quite the same here as the Tornadoes have a 6-point advantage over the 2 guys from Monte. That's going to be only 2 more points back to the Belgian Zwift riders, the Lions 1 squad. Very dangerous team. Evo Vortex 1 in 4th right now. Then you got R3R ACDC in 5th. And then from down to 10th, from 6th, it goes Wolfpack, ZRG, R24. Then it's the World Tactical Racing League, the Wanderers. In 8th, Polville Wheelers, CC, Valhalla, Daneslip in 9th, and then Engard in 10th. Nathan, that's the Bs. They're locked and loaded and ready to go. So both the A's and the Bs are going to be doing 2 complete laps on the Richmond UCI World's course. These categories, the C's and the D's, doing 1. I'll throw it back to you, Nathan, to take a look at the C's here.
Yeah, we're just going to run through these real quick here. It's going to be Viking Valhalla here at 40 points, really having a domination of this so far in the C category. TT1 Team Type 1 Sharps, followed up by SZ Vale in third. And then it's going to be Wolfpack ZRG at 28 points. WTRL Caprica there at 27. Belgium Zwift Riders Rhinos at 24 points in sixth. Vikings, oh man, that one's going to be tough for me. That's definitely an Icelandic, I believe, because they always just put those consonants right next to each other. I said it was going to be quick, but Jürgen Dressel is what I'm going to say. And then RMACCHW, Z Sun Kings, and then Evo 4. And then the D category, Dave, let's go ahead.
My heart goes out to you, brother. All right, two guys. Seco is our leaders. Again, 38 points, but they are deadlocked there with SG Frey. So, hey, look at this. Only 2 more points back to the Gorillas, Belgian Zwift Riders Gorillas 1 squad. So that's your top 3, all within 2 points. It is really, really close there. So you can see how this one's a bit top-heavy, Nathan. A lot of points going to just a few teams here. You have the Zesp Chinchillas sitting in 4th, PRCC Delta 5th, Vikings Osberg in 6th, Kirkmeyer Bumblebees in 7th. Then it's GC on the Mend, NTR Detonators, and the Sport Pictures Simru in 10th. So that's the D's. Good luck to all of our racers. A big part of the success of the Zwift Racing League are all of our community racers. So again, I hope you have the day that you've been working hard for. We're going to jump right in now with the A's. And this is Juan, one of the WTRL Volendam riders. Nathan dangling off the front as we pick them up just 2.5K in. Each lap, a little over 16K. It's a tale of two cities in Richmond, Nathan. You have almost a high plateau that's completely flat, around 10K of racing. That's where a couple of these sprints will happen. And then you drop down into Dante's Inferno. It's kind of an interesting look. You drop down to lose that elevation that you build back up in 3 successive body blows that are Libby 23rd and then Governors that brings you up to the finish line again. This is such a complicated course. Again, the racers make the race, but they have a lot to work with here. Let's reset. I'll throw it back to you, Nathan. This is the Amen.
Body blows is the way to put it. That's for sure. This course puts you up against the ropes. I mean, it's just one after another once you get into the climbs. It is a little bit more chill up front, but because of these sprint points, you can already see WTRL, they're employing a very interesting tactic. They're putting riders off the front at like over what they could possibly hold for very long here. I mean, did you see that pole come through from Van Breda? They're going to be hitting this sprint point. You can already see it here on the left-hand side of the course. And it is going to be like half a K, maybe a little bit more than that before they hit this first one. It's going to be all in for these first points, I believe, for anybody that wants to try and grab the 20 on the day.
Yeah, you're not really, Nathan, going to see a split until we get to Libby Hill the first time. Going up Libby Hill, it's not that long, nor is it that steep, but it is cobbled. It's deceptively hard. It's a race maker, even though it's so short. Nathan, it feels like you're racing through wet concrete when you're going up just because of the power required, and that'll be really something to look forward to. But these sprints, they're not going to split the group, but this positioning, staying near the front, because by the time you get to Libby, you're absolutely going to see that battle going on in the few K that lead up to the bottom of Libby Hill. So all right, Nathan, here we go. Sprint coming up. These guys are going to sort this one out quite handily here.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Kirchmer. Kirchmer trying to take it down, but Harry Mustard. Is Mustard going to come on through right at the last second? He might have grabbed that. We're going to have to look at a replay there. What a kick coming through from that. Wow, that came from like 100 meters back. I think he closed like 50 to 100 meter gap at that point. And look at him right away, throwing down that power up. Most likely one that he picked up just a moment ago. We'll have to take a look at replay if I believe he used an arrow to get that speed. But him and Kirchmer out the front there with Brickett, and it's going to be Westerhall perhaps. Will there be a split at the back? I do not believe so. You do see here, especially amongst this top division, it's going to be very difficult to drop anybody off.
Yeah, it's going to stretch out. The elastic band is going to be tested here, but you're right, Nathan. This is all going to stay together here. But again, what we were talking about at the beginning of the broadcast, we have done a lot of sorting out over in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. There is so much interest in the ZRL here that these riders have already been through the first real testing, proving ground. And so we've got the cream of the crop racing with us here. You're going to see that there's not going to be many riders that struggle everybody, if you don't have the good legs and you're not off to a great start on the day, that was not a whole lot of fun, that first sprint. But at this level, these athletes are really, really resilient. Okay, Nathan, I'm stoked. This is going to be so good. A day like today doesn't come along often enough. We're actually, I listened earlier this morning to Anna and Kate, did a great job covering some of the racing. This course never disappoints, that's for sure. One thing that I will say about this is a solo breakaway. It's such a different kind of course. But what's interesting is you'd say, well, you talk so much about these climbs. Libby Hill, not really a climb, more of a cobbled test. But 23rd certainly is just straight up the side of a building, basically. And Nathan, it's not a climber's race in any stretch. It is absolutely a puncher's course here. That's a term that's come into vogue over the last decade or so. And without any question, I mean, look, this was the course that Lizzie Armistead and Peter Sagan won on in 2015 when the Worlds were held here. Neither one of them would be considered pure climbers by any stretch, but they're some of the best all-around bike racers in the world. So picking up the Cryo RDT team, another powerhouse squad, you know that you're at the right race when you see that they're in the mix here. Each lap, 16K, 2 laps, 8 sprints. There's a lot of things to look at along the way to the finish line here. Back to you, Nathan.
Yeah, and Cryo, interesting moves by them. I thought they were going to try and counter, perhaps. We did see 6 immediately. I thought it was 6 of their riders immediately go to the front of the pack right after taking down that sprint. We do see Weichert there from Cryo RDT now making their way to the front, and they're very dominating force usually in the TTT as well. So definitely a team to be watching out for. If they were able to put a couple of riders off the front, they've got a lot of firepower. Looks like they are going to most likely be trying to set something up and control, though, for this next sprint point. I think that's what RDT is up to. We also do see KC. They're also looking to set up Kirchmeier, most likely again, after I believe Stefan might have held off for the sprint. I'm not absolutely positive. It was between him and Harry Mustard from Cryo, and it was a 1 or 2. We're going to take a look at the replay again in just a moment here. But we do have the next sprint point. You can actually see it off in the distance here. We're going to move our way forward into the pack. We do see Aero Power-Ups already starting to open up. That's going to be Team SZ. Off the front, though, just a little bit is going to be Kirchmeier. Again, here he comes, 15 watts per kilogram with a drafting power-up. Where is the rest of the pack? Harry Mustard already threw down everything he's got, it looks like. They're up at the 14 watts per kilogram. Stephen Kirchmeier trying to hold on. Mustard trying to come out of the pack. Not going to be happening. The Aero Power-Ups pop there by Mallard. Is Mallard going to come through? The Frenchman, the speed is there. I'm not sure that the landscape is left, though, and he's going to just do it, perhaps. Kirchmeier, these timings coming from him. I mean, that was so close. We saw something similar from Connor I think it was O'Connor in the APAC this morning. He was attacking from so far out, getting these huge gaps, and nobody was able to chase it down. But there's so many more bodies here present with high power leading things out. I think it's just maybe not quite possible to have that gap and hold on here. Maybe caught. We'll have to wait and see here, Dave.
Yeah, Nathan, you might have 2 replays that we're going to need to go back and look at, because I'm going to say on the back end API. So you used that term, Zwift craft, which I love, the gameplay element here. I thought Kirchmeier timed, clearly this man knows his way around the Zwift machine, because Kirchmeier timed that power up perfectly. I'm not 100% sure he was first over the line. However, let me quickly mention we're scoring those sprints 3, 2, and 1 points. So first over the line getting 3, third rider getting 1. I bet you can figure out on your own then what the second rider gets. So we'll then, Nathan, be looking at here today, just quickly an overview here. All of those points get thrown into a pool. There's finishing points as well. There's a massive number of finishing points. Your team then combines all of the points earned by every rider from the bonuses and the finish, and then we throw that into the calculator a final time, and it'll sort out the teams and give 20 points to the team that has garnered the most in-game, in-race points. So I think that might be the best I've ever explained that, Nathan.
It's a tough one.
Yeah,
until you see.
That's it.
But
Right there.
It's a points race. It's a points race in the race today to take the top spot. You take the top spot, you get 20 points for the league, then 19, then 18 for second, third, and all the way down. And so it keeps things really close, as you can look in the standings, and you can see lots of teams still involved. Instead of teams just walking away with a mass of points, you win on the day as a team, you get 20 points. You get second, you get 19. There's only a 1-point differentiation. And then teams that take that 5th place, 6th place, they're still in contention. and can come back, do some homework, and show up the next time, maybe take some guys off the bench, throw them in, and the team is still involved there. You can see in the point situation, Kirchmeier taking second twice, actually, it looks like. Well, there's a tie right now here for second and third, though, in the for the day so far for those teams. That'll be the Frenchman. It's going to be Malid. They're followed up by Mustard for Cryo RDT. So that's the situation. We'll take a look at the replays here. Well, we can leave that alone. Actually, now that we know that the points and where they're at here. But these boys are cruising as they're heading on over to Libby Hill. They're going to hit Libby Hill in like 15 minutes. That is absolutely flying.
Yes, so that does confirm then that Kirchmeier was second in that sprint that we just watched as well. So close, but getting nipped at the line by the Frenchman. So Nathan, as far as I know, actually, I'm going to guess that if you look, because we have a lot of different divisions racing around the globe, but in the Premier Division, Heino is still perfect. They've scored, as you said, 20 points in each race then, based on all the points they earned in that race. So they're at 60 points after 3 events now. Looking forward to the team time trial coming up next week again. We'll be racing on Thursday with WTRL. That team time trial there's a lot of riders who are picking up on how awesome that event is who weren't already part of the already 80 team time trials that have happened with WTRL. So it's pretty awesome. Nathan, here's Ben Wolf. Nice pickup there. Rider out of Connecticut, rode for Hincapie, that is a pro rider, and the Jelly Belly team as well. The Mighty Mallards, this team is I'm really, really impressed. Aiden Charles has done a tremendous job of getting this squad up and going. He's got Brian Wolf as well, the younger brother of Ben Wolf, and Hunter Pronovost, who's a rider that we know well here on Zwift. So this is a team to watch out here, but Ben Wolf is absolutely a rider who would be suited to the course that we have here. Very much a puncher's course, Nathan, and we're not that far off. So they make that hard U-turn there. Now they're heading back to the bottom of Libby. When they hit the bottom of Libby, they actually make a hard right-hand turn that takes them onto the cobbles, and that's where the fireworks go off. But actually, Nathan, they're racing hard right now because positioning matters. Okay, there is a lot of chopping, a lot of flicking, a lot of scrambling going on as everybody realizes that if there was ever a time to get up near the front, it would be right now, boys. Okay, giddy up. You can feel it, Nathan. The tension really ratchets up in the field here as we jump in with Hule, the Cryo RDT rider. What a good rider to be with, Nathan. It's on like Donkey Kong from here on in, folks.
Yeah, and here we go. It's going to be WZ on the front there. Wahoo Lukol also making their way forward. It's going to be Ellis here, but it's going to be Fusion, ECT, Kirchmeier moving forward. SZ, Team SZ now on the front. 162 beats per minute. No big numbers just yet. Now Kirchmeier up in the 8 watts per kilogram. That's a little bit of a dig just to make sure that you're in position, because it's really, once you hit these cobbles, you start taking these turns, it gets into those red numbers. There's a 16% gradient. Now all the feather power-ups are being blasted. Now there are points at the top of this hill that are going to make the difference of first, second, third. Could lose the overall if you do not grab these here. Where is Laverick? This is where I would think he'd be moving forward. You can see 10.2 watts per kilogram coming from Ed Laverick. 1 second back, but with an arrow power, Will Hool from Cryo RDT take this down. Now DBR with fire up here, looking to go first, coming up over the top. Will he take it down? No, Kirchmeier again with the kick over the line. 3 seconds back, though. 202 beats per minute, Dave, and a gap over the field.
Holy cow. Well, so Stefan Kirchmeier out of Austria, this man is leading a movement of Zwifters there. What a talent and what a massive engine. So I'm going to expect things to settle down, but you have this nice buffer built up, Nathan, because 23rd comes at you very, very quickly here. So that's really interesting. Kirchmeier on a mission out here. He's scored in the top 3, so decidedly different style of sprints, 2 straight up sprints there on the flat, and then finishing up at the top of Libby Hill there. Wow, Kirchmeier in fuego right now, Nathan. All right, picking up the action at the front. The heavy hitters doing some damage here. This time up 23rd, we're going to lose a few souls.
Yeah, Hool here now. You can see everybody trying to get back on terms. I think anybody that's off the back here has not coalesced with that group at this point, hasn't grabbed a wheel. You can see a little bit of split already if they do not jump across to this pack, and they're going to be going full gas over the top here. Here comes Maxin Janodet here out of Team France leading things out, but I don't think he's going to be able to take it as Laverick now comes at 13 watts per kilogram. Will he be able to hold on to that pace? Does he have the pure water to come over the top? But no, it's going to be Heavy here. Fusion ECT kicking to the front with Heavy and Janodet. That's going to be the riders taking this down. But ECT again showing what they're made of and why they are currently leading this series, leading the league actually at the top of this Division 1 pool. And ECT now with Heavy taking down the KOM as well jersey. Laverick is in and amongst this, perfectly positioned, the Welshman now, as he is 1 second up from the chase pack. 4.9 watts per kilogram coming from the mighty Mallards, but they're not going to have a lot. And this is what we were talking about, getting up against the ropes in this nonstop haymakers that you're able to throw at the competition, and it completely can shatter the group every single lap. And you can already see we're down to half a pack at this point, and the chase is on. They're getting back together here, but I think this, if you're not with this over the top of Governors, you don't close this down, your race is done.
Couldn't agree more, Nathan. I mean, and you look at it, these are the elite. This is, as you said, the cream of the crop, and they're getting dropped out of this group. This is such a high level. So we were talking about Ed mode. There's a lot of other modes going on out here as well. How about Hebe mode, the Danish rider there who picks up the bonification? Nathan, it should almost be illegal to have two KOMs like that so close together, right? Can you imagine what that does to the physiology of these riders? You don't dig any deeper than you do going from Libby after getting up that brute and then following it up not even 2 minutes later. You're looking at this insane climb to the top of 23rd, and now this is the grinder, 6%. You can see that up in the top right hand corner. Now 6% might not sound like much, but you've got lactic acid pooling up in your legs like the Baltic Sea right now. It is not pretty here. These guys might settle in, Nathan. We got a lot of racing ahead of us. So if you look at the course profile, and I would encourage you to go to Zwift Power and do that, go to zwiftpower.com, and you can see that here for the men's EMEA Division 1 race, they're not even halfway through. These laps are about 16.2K. Right now, this is deceptively hard, Nathan, and this is where the race is going to be won or lost, not all that far from now. So 2 laps out on this course, that is enough. I don't think too many people are looking for more. That's right now, you look at this group, Nathan. If you've made this group, you got to be feeling pretty good about yourself, but you've still got a lot more to go through here. Get ready to go through the ringer. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and at the back of the pack here, we see Crowdgen holding on. This position, I'm familiar on a bad day, even a good day against this kind of a field here. And this is whether or not you're going to make the race. 6 watts per kilogram, 188 beats per minute. He has to pull just 1-2 meters. He even uses his feather here at this point in hopes he'll be able to make something happen, because what is happening at the front is going to be the question. That is why this is a full gas reach to hold on, because Laverick says, I might not be able to win on the climbs and those climbs by himself. So he goes now because he believes in himself to have that kind of a threshold situation, or maybe get somebody to come across to him. He's got the power. He's got the fitness. He wants some strong riders to go across. Cryo, though, they are controlling the race here at this point. The Mallards maybe throw one across. If there's a rider or two that doesn't have a full team to chase things down, they could start bursting out of here, attacking out of here, countering to go across the Laverick. And I think he was really trying to get somebody to come across, but nobody was willing.
Yeah, well, and that's a really interesting question, right? Do you want to? So that was a fishing technique from Ed Laverick. They're seeing a test attack. Who wants to come with me? Nobody wants to go with Ed Laverick. Just way too dangerous. And I think realistically, just too far out right now for 2 riders to make it. Now, the question becomes, it's not that far off, Nathan, until we have another bonus sprint coming up here. So they come at you in pairs, 2 on the flat. Then you drop back down and have 2 going through the very rugged section. It is a tale of 2 cities, if you will, when you look at this one, because it really, there's almost 0 elevation gain for 10K out here. This is as classic of an American city as you could find. Like as you're rolling through this sector, there's little bodegas selling fried chicken. And it is definitely got that Southern America thing going to it. And then you drop down it's not much of a descent, but you have to give back some elevation to be able to gain it going through Libby in 23rd. And that's where things get really chaotic. But by having so many sprints out here, again, with all of the different races, it's 8 sprints along the way before the one that really matters at the finish line. So, okay, well underway here on lap number 2, Nathan. And 2 sprints. They'll come at us pretty quick here.
Yeah, they will. And I wanted to quickly look here at the current standings. It does look like for the bonus points so far, we've got Steven Kirchmer with 8 there. Harry Mustard there sitting on 3. Nicholas Durkot, I believe it's going to be there with 3 as well. Simon Nielsen, 2. So a lot of Kirchmer Cycling here, they've got a solid gap here. And if they continue on with this kind of domination, they may be able to. Well, we do have Fusion though with a few other points here coming on in. Now we do see the update coming on through after 23rd Street. So this is the situation actually after 23rd Street, and we do see that Foudre is getting involved there a little bit more. So we definitely are going to have a few more points and some more battle up for grabs across the line, and still 4 sprint points out there, followed up by the finish line. So lots and lots of jostling to go on, but that's the current situation. Now, we would have to, we are going to look to, in the next week, try and get an update with a team points board. But for now, we got to do the math on what everybody grabs across the line. And it does look like Fusion, with their numbers, may be challenging, as well as Foudre, to take down Kirchmer. Depends on who comes around. There's a lot of points across the line for the finish line, though, Dave.
It's really heavily stacked that way, Nathan. And that's one of in real life racing, you see the same thing. Almost always what happens at the finish sorts out, but it can make a difference. There's no doubt about it. It's absolutely worth it if you come in with especially a combined effort amongst the team. Stefan Kirchmeier, the Austrian rider, has been phenomenal up to this point. But this team Fusion, they are, go ahead and write that name down in pen, because we're going to be talking about them a lot throughout this Zwift Racing League season. But taking a look at Kohler working hard out here on that Tron bike, Nathan.
Well, look at how Cryo is controlling. Poole went to the front and set a 4.3. And I think the idea here was he set it fast enough that nobody would really come around unless they're going to do 5 to 6 and actually make a real chase. So he's just keeping his pace just fast enough that it allows Kohler to continue to gain seconds every few, 100 meters. So perhaps there's a little bit of a control at the front here as Houle tries to slow the pack down by keeping it underneath 5 watts per kilogram at the front, but not going under 3, not going under 4, just making sure it's just fast enough that if you want to come around me, you're going to have to really budge. So this is a good move by Houle as he allows Kohler to get away. That's a really, really well-versed Zwifter to know that he can even get that done, because most Zwifters wouldn't know. They would back off to 3 and then try and jump to the front again to control, but that will always burst speed because you have to go with a burst of speed in order to get around an avatar, and that just speeds the pack up. But Houle's doing this very intelligently. I'm really impressed by this tactic.
Yeah, he's like that guy when you decide you're going to go ahead and push through the yellow light, and he decides in front of you that he's not. It's not much you can do about that. You're going to have to go ahead and go at his speed. That's for sure. So picking up again now, here we go. This is going to be because of the bonus sprint or the preem sprint that we're looking at. Kohler going to get top bonification. Is Kirchmeier going to score again? This would be his 3rd second, and he does. Nielsen from Fusion picking up. Oh, I'm going to leave that alone.
I think he did. I think he got it.
Did he? Okay. Yeah, good.
I think he got it.
There we go.
Yeah, he got it. Yeah. He had a pretty good gap. I think everybody, they saw Kirchmer and Nielsen go, and they were kind of like, look, we need a break. This has been insane. I'm just glad I'm here at this point. Some of these riders, no. But, and some of them are waiting for their moment, I think, though, too.
Leave that one for the mad dogs, they would say back in the Peloton, right? I fully can relate to that. This one, you're going to be digging deep here. Nathan, this next 15 minutes, about as intense as it gets in the world of Zwift. What's coming up for these guys? Libby, 23rd, Governors to the finish, and then the pressure of the finish. It cracks a lot of top riders.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of riders only thinking about those 3 climbs at this point and not really interested in anything when it comes to points. With only 3 points on the line and the reality of the big points across the finish line, I think a lot of these riders are just not going to care too much. They're going to maybe be a couple of workhorses, a couple of people that are specifically going for those climbs. Maybe a rider like Kirkmeyer, some of these top riders from Fusion, they're going to be going for all the points, just being, a level above. Perhaps they'll just be going for every single one of the points. But some of these riders, they're going to be specifically given a task to either grab one of these points or else waiting to get the best position they possibly can, because you only have so many matches to burn. Only have so many riders in this pack. If you waste them going for those points and you don't get across with a better position across the finish line with so many points available on the finish line, that's what's really going to matter to a lot of them at this point, is just thinking about the big points, not these intermediate, and they're going to just try and hang on.
You win this race today by stacking the top 10 at the finish line, right? In my mind, that's 100% the tact or the strategy that I would use if I was directing a team here. I would really say let's conserve race definitely defensively until we get to Libby and that last barrage that we're going to face, and then let's just try to keep working together. Because if you can get 4 riders up into the top 10, you're most likely going to take the top 20 points available here today. Ed Laverick wants to be one of those guys on his team. There's right now, that's really the thing that we love about Zwift Racing League, is that this is not a league for individuals, especially when you add in the WTRL tried and true team time trial. That weighs very heavily 50% of the races that we do are that team time trial, but the team tactics out here are equally important.
Yeah, 100%. The way that these riders have to pay attention to the team more so than the individual is really what this is all about. And that's what really makes most sports, in a lot of ways, is team sports, obviously teams, but the reality that they have to work together, the tactics that end up coming out about who, what, where, and why, and everybody being able to shine with what their talent is. You gotta stack your team up with the right kind of talents for the right kind of course, and make sure that you're putting them into the best position they can. And that's really what makes things interesting. And that's what made things so incredibly popular when it comes to the TTT, rather than just this, one rider across the line. It always ends up being just a sprint situation. So things really changing up here and heating up here. Kirkmeyer, again, 16 watts per kilogram. Huge kick here up into that 1,000 watts here. Going to walk away with this one, it looks like. We'll see if we can do that again across the line. 181 beats per minute. He's still got like 20 beats to work with. Here comes an arrow power up by Mallard, but Mallard not going to be able to take that down, it looks like. Nielsen looking to hang on. This was a drawn-out sprint. Nielsen from Fusion, he's going to roll across the line. Dry cut there. Now they've got a gap, and it looks like Huel now kicking 12 watts per kilogram. This is enough distance, though, if Kirkmeyer wants to go. But with the downhill into the industrial, yeah, there's no way. No way.
He's done this too many times as well, I think, Nathan, to really consider a breakaway. Florent Mallard also has been very, very impressive. But my thought here is, these two keep rolling and see if they can build up any kind of buffer. But you know how quickly we're going to be on Libby Hill here. And then you're going to hit a reset button for the final time, to tell you the truth. Nathan, I want to go back to what you're talking about with the team concept here. And these guys have been earning points for their team. If you look at it, though, I believe, and I would ask our man Martin from WTRL, but I think that in the point structure, right? So these have been 3 points that you get for winning these bonus sprints. And the guy's coming back into the group. So we'll marry them back in and hit the reset button. You are looking at the front group here, about a half lap, but the very intense half lap coming up. I think it's 40 points that you get for the win. There's a lot of tables that we look at, but if I'm correct there, obviously you could get 24 points if you won every single bonus sprint along the way, and that still would just get you a little more than half as many points as you would get for the win. So Martin will let me know if I'm correct on that. But it's one of these things, like going all in and blowing up a front group and putting your teammates out the back of a group of 15 and getting the solo win. You might actually cost yourself more points than by allowing your teammates to stay in and get up in the top 10, possibly, if they're good finishers. See what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I mean, you 40 points across the line and you win every single point across, each and every one of the sprint points. I mean, you would end up with
24.
24 plus 40. You're looking at 64 points on the day. Nobody would be able to touch that by
Well,
far,
my
obviously.
point,
But
my point was that if you make that effort and win 8 different bonus sprints, you still only get half the points that you'd get for winning the race. That's
good
my
point.
point.
Good point. Good point. Gotcha. So a lot of these riders here with 40 points across the first, but then for second, 35, third gets 30, 27th, fourth. So it does drop off pretty quickly. So getting that first across the line, it is still a big price. So a lot of these riders perhaps are looking for those intermediates if they know that they're just not a rider that can get first across the line, but if they can just put an all-in effort, go over to the top of Libby, and at least grabbing some points for the team, and then let your all-star take it down. And that's really what makes it cool, in my opinion, when it comes to the team racing out here.
Yeah, it's really interesting when a win, though, is the same as a 6th and an 8th.
That is so. A win is the same as a 6th and an 8th. Yeah, that is, because then you end up in a situation where you stacking the front of the field with some top riders, being consistent throughout the league ends up paying off more than just being an all-star. Really, you got to stack your team. You got to have you have to have the Chicago Bulls. I mean,
without
definitely
depth,
not the Lakers,
win.
not the Lakers, the Bulls, just the Bulls.
I'm just going to leave that alone because yeah. So hey, let's pick up the front because Nathan, here we go. Ramp it up one more time. Go ahead and buckle in. You're going to want an 8-point seat belt here because this is going to be a wild ride from here on in. Couple riders. It's going to be Vector Hall, and trying to build up a bit of an advantage here as they know that the run in to the bottom of Libby Hill. Nathan, I know on a previous broadcast early in my time working with you, I mentioned this, but I announced during the World Championships up on the top of Libby Hill. During that day, we had something like 14 different pro riders. It happened mostly with the pro men and women, where when they hit the bottom of Libby, it is such a slam when you hit those cobbles that their SRM units the head unit was falling off their bikes and the spectators were turning them in up at the top of the hill. We had 12. These guys race on Roubaix and Flanders, right? I mean, at the Ronde, you'd think you'd see more cobbles than you would, but something about this dramatic turn onto the bottom of Libby Hill absolutely will blow this race apart. And get ready, it's about to go nuclear. I'm going to throw it back to you, Nathan. They hit the reset button. We make this hard U-turn here brings us into the long. I guess it's a long drag. It feels like a long drag because they're already full gas. At this point now, the race to get near the front is on.
Yeah, really being toward the back here at this point, going to be tough to hold on if there is any kind of a split. Now, you can play it smart and surf the back of the pack, even going up a climb if there isn't a major split. And if you trust that it's going to come back together, you can reserve and look for that win across the line. Laverick here, 39th place currently. I think he's waiting and trying to take some speed up over the top, but it's going to be Macahon there coming from the World Elite Zwifters. Now, Seaman, they're from Team France, now making his way to the front as well. Team WZ now taking over on the right-hand side. Wetterhall, he was off the front just a moment ago. Interesting to see how he got pulled back in, and is he going to have any effort left? Now, 8.5 watts per kilogram coming from Laverick. Some aero power is being blasted already now. And now there's Kirkmeyer making his way to the front in the Bumblebee kit, I'm going to call it there. VZR now making the way to the front as well. Dorst there from SZ leading things out. This is going to be a fade climb, I believe, as Hebby, who took down the first of the climbs, he is making his way. But here's a Feather Power up now coming. Laverick, though, is he waiting or is he just following? I think Laverick wants to take the win of the day. I think he likes this finish. But here comes the Feather Power, perhaps just going to try and take it down at 584 watts there, Dave.
Yeah, this is one of the most well-known climbs in America as we get ready for these monsters. Laverick, Edmode, as we mentioned. Is it Kirkmeyer again? It is unbelievable. Stefan Kirkmeyer is en fuego out here today as he will take the top points, 3 points there across the line. I had Laverick and then O'Connor, not Laverick. That's your top three as they come across Libby Hill. Guess what? It's not over. 23rd comes at you. Body blow after body blow after body blow being thrown here on the Richmond UCI Worlds course, and we're down to the business end. They're 30 kilometers in. But, Nathan, it's gone from bad to worse right now as that group is going to be rapidly diminishing. We're racing for the win. We got points waiting on the line. It's going to be really interesting. But Ed Laverick trying to put him in the hurt box. Back to you, Nathan.
He's got to back off. He's got to back off, or he will not get any speed from the pack. And it's a horrible place to be at the bottom of this hill without getting any speed from that pack. So he needs. It's tough. It might not have been good timing. Yeah, he might get some speed from it. I think he is, and just caught on to that because off the front there, the amount of speed you get from that pack is just so much. So I'm glad he was able to grab a little bit there. Now 67 kilometers per hour. You can see up into 8.99 watts per kilogram. As we can see, Towle now making his way to the front, but who is blasting Maxime Janot? Janate.
Wow.
Gonna be coming off the front here. You're going to have to help me out there with the French because my pronunciation way off perhaps, but it's going to be double with this. They are specifically targeting this 23rd Street, trying to perhaps summon their inner Sagan perhaps here, because this is the place exactly where he went, very similar to what we're seeing from Janaudet, I would say, I believe. And Clement there, not trying to chase down his teammate. Super Tuck, 62 kilometers per hour, but there's a huge pack behind. They're going to come rolling with some snowball speed.
Wow. All right. Well, so that's not it. However, as Nathan mentioned with Ed Laverick earlier, dangling off the front is not ideal at all, because this is what happens. You can watch this now. The group with the speed and the momentum will go right past. Now you're going to have to throw some watts down just to be able to hold on to this group. Watch how quickly, Nathan, he goes all the way through that group. Talking about Max Janaudet here. And now, well, he's going to latch on, but that's what you call going from the front to the back very, very quickly there, like a hot knife through butter. These are the men that have survived. These are the gladiators of Zwift. So this is what I would call the big grind now, Nathan. It's deceptive. It doesn't look anywhere near as bad as it is for our racers right here. Every single avatar you're looking at right now is being represented by a rider somewhere in, for the most part, we do have some North Americans out here with the Mighty Mallards, but you've got riders mostly in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And here is the big throwdown, Nathan. I'm going to throw it to you. You know how all these points matter. These teams are going to try to stack them up like cordwood and take a big win here in Richmond. This is the ZRL in full effect.
Yeah, we're coming into the final climb, Governor Street. It is a long grind to the top of Governor Street climb. It's not an easy one, that's for sure. A lot of times I come into this climb thinking, oh, it's not too bad. It's just a couple of tiers. No, it is so much suffering after those first two climbs. You're already in the hurt lock. You're just looking for any heartbeat to come back as you possibly can. Now we do have Cool off the front. Hansen trying to chase that down. Laverick sitting third wheel. I believe he's going to try and come over the top and then attack once it flattens out, because the pack is usually in a position where they have nothing left and you can break them over the top of Governor Street and just roll in solo, as we're seeing Cool trying to do here. Here's the position. Here's Laverick's point of view now with Kirchmar on his wheel. If Kirchmar over the top here at this point, maybe Laverick can grab onto Kirchmar's wheel and then sprint across the line. But Kirchmar usually with the kick. Hool, though, looking to hold on with an arrow power. What a move here from Hool. He's got 4 seconds. They're not taking him back. Cry RDT. The South African. He's going to make it happen, Dave.
He's been in the bank, he's got the money, and now he is in a getaway car, hightailing his way through downtown Richmond. Nathan, he's got to be tapping on that gauge right now. He's got it. Boom, boom, out go the lights in Richmond.
What a kick there from Hool. What a move. Heavy across the line, followed up by Soren Bay. This is a race of attrition. They're just barely, I mean, this is trash can. This is trash can situation at this point. They're over the handlebars, trying to just bring a pedal stroke across the line. There was barely a sprint from some of those riders. What an amazing race across the line there. We'll see if we can bring in also some of the B category here in just a moment. We do have the women's race coming up next. They start in about 20 minutes, so we do have a good amount of time to fill here. We'll take a look at the results here in just a moment, but what a kick there from Ed Huel, the South African, that was pretty amazing there, Dave.
Well, I tell you what, that's amazing. And then the ride from Stefan Kirkmeyer today. Actually, he might have garnered he would have garnered the most points today if you look at the table because he picked up what I mean, at last I remember it was like 11 points that he had through he was winning them not only in the flat sprints but up on Libby as well. I don't know if he scored any at 23rd, he might have, but you add that to the 35 points that he's getting for second, remembering that the winner gets 40. We're adding that all into the team too. So it's not just going to be one rider. One man alone won't be able to do it. It's going to take at least a few riders scoring points here. But I don't know how the rest of the Kirkmeyer riders did, but I hope they were able to back up the performance from Stefan, and they might be the top team today out of Austria. We'll see. That's why this is so much fun.
Yeah, I would not be surprised one bit if Kirchner Cycling walk away with this one out there today. But Fusion ECT may be unthroned. Now we're jumping on in with the B category. As you can see, ZRG here off the front with a little bit of a kick, similar to what we saw from Ed Laverick as well as the Foods riders. But SZ making the chase with Moeller from DBR as we jump into the B category in Division 1. The cream of the crop. This is the super division of the European league here, EMEA.
So these guys also doing 2 laps. They would have just contested their final sprint. I'm trying to, or actually, let's see here. They've 23rd. Been right. They were over Libby. So, yep, 23rd coming up here. And then you'll get that run up Governors to the finish line. So, pretty similar situation, Nathan. An elite group. I mean, they started with a massive 132 riders in this field. I'm going to estimate this around let's say under 30 riders. So another rider trying to get back up into that group. Really a tough time to rejoin here as they start now the long grind up Governors.
Yeah, it's going to be 24 riders with a lot of SZ team represented here, actually. Interesting enough to see. And SZ, I'm not seeing them in the top 10 currently in this division. So DBR Tornadoes actually were the top riders in this division at this point with 39 points. 2 guys Montejunto were the other riders. And they're definitely represented here. As you can see, the riders out of Portugal now with Love Tiles. And then it's going to be DBR, though, taking over at the front with the feather power-ups. 470 watts here coming from the DBR rider as they look to try and take this down for the 40 points across the line. The first initial kick, not always the one that makes it happen, but we just saw in the A category with Huel able to make that happen, which is a very rare occurrence, but you got the power, take the risk, and, big risk, big reward. And he got 40 points across the line. So DBR looking to take over 2 riders at the front.
Yeah, in order to win at this level, risk reward, Nathan. If you're afraid to take that risk, you're not going to be winning a bike race. You got to put yourself out there. You got to be exceptional to win on this course. And we got some riders who are making a real run at it. Now you can see the group is going to start to string out with gaps opening up. And this is it. It's an OSS situation, nowhere near the gap that we saw earlier, Nathan. We're going to see an entirely different scenario here for this finale, as this one is now locked and loaded. Boy, man, even though the gaps are small, the finish line will start to come up, and there it is. It's not that far away. Nathan, these two might have done it here. Is this going to be? We haven't seen anybody. No, that's the reality of the situation. The game element comes in, and it's going to be Janssen, the Swedish rider. SZR is on fire here. The Swedes have absolutely knocked this one out of the park. Is it enough? It looks like it may be, but maybe not, Nathan.
2 guys over the top there, 800 watts, and the Tron bike lights up with power as it's going to be Jansen followed by Anhoj, and then I believe another rider, Bozegard from DBR. We'll see what the results are across the line in just a moment, but that was for the win there. Solid kick there coming in from that ride. That was pretty amazing, actually. Loving the Tron bike lighting up there. We'll get the results in just a second. Let's see if we can find some replays as well for what all went down in the A category, because that was pretty amazing. Ed Huel's move with Cryo RDT. Let's take a look at that, because that was phenomenal here, Dave.
Yeah. As I was saying, you need to be exceptional to win, especially out of this group. And this is where you start to believe the gap is hanging in there at 3-4 seconds. And at this point now, Nathan, is where you scrape the bottom of the barrel. The South African did exactly that. Not a watt was wasted out here. This man, literally a wattage cottage here. And some good gameplay. Let's talk about that, Nathan. He saved it up for the right moment, didn't he? Dropping that power up.
Dropping the power up at the perfect time. And, that was so incredibly smart coming from him, because the reality is that if he did not have that arrow power up, the speed would not have been there. He was almost caught, and that just ramped things up for him at the perfect time. If he would have used that at any other time, he most likely would not have made that happen here. Kirchmar, they're coming through for second, it looks like. They're heavy there in for third as they came across the line. You can kind of see it in the background there. But what a kick there coming in from Ed Hool, taking down the win out there today. We'll see if we can get a replay also for the B category as they came across the line. I do believe we have that as well. That was a solid kick there coming on in from now, as you can see, this was the situation a little bit earlier. Perhaps we hit the replay button a little bit late there, but for the B category, this is the situation with Hool, and we were in with a few of the other riders later on, but we'll jump back in and see if we can grab that B category for everybody and how things played out there. But they had some solid kicks as well. So we got the women's race coming up in 13 minutes, the start of the women's race. They'll be kicking off, and that's going to be super exciting. Well, 12 minutes actually. EMEA Women's Division 1. Now, this category of this race is really interesting because there's going to be so many familiar names at the top. And what's super compelling is the new team, Aeonian, is sitting at the top, actually, Dave.
Yeah, and this is the team of Daniela Estrate, Jamie Lee Wright. They've got that, like the secret sauce that we were talking about. The team has depth with talent on top and good leadership. And that's the difference here in the ZRL. You can see they're sitting on 38 points. Socks for Watts, Watt TF sitting at 1 point back. This is going to be the battle royale that we were anticipating here in the ZRL. The Atomic Kittens from the BRT, they're stalking back just 7 points behind in third. And then look at the talent we have here, Nathan. It is amazing. All the way through our top 10 here is Sisu, I Race Like a Girl, 29 points. They're sitting in fourth. It's AHDRL, the Arctic Rollers, sitting in fifth at 22. Then you go to 17 points for Draft ZRL. The Vikings Valkyrie sitting in seventh. They're on 15 points. Revo Arrows, 11 points. It's Ferocious in ninth with 5, and we're looking for JRC Shoot Ridley, RTF, to get up on the board here today in Richmond. There is your top 10 right now in the Europe, the Middle East, and Africa Division 1 for the women. I'll throw it back to you. It's another Aeonian team, Nathan.
Yeah, and we have the Aeonian Banditas at the top with 40 points for the B category in Division 1. Socks for Watts, SBR, cake. It's all about the cake in a lot of these rides. I love the women's names. They are some of the best names out there with 36 points there. TBR Dance on with 35. Herd of VSCC with 30 points in fourth. WTRL Watts Up, 24 points for fifth. HDR Bells on Bikes tied for 6/7th there with R3R Bewitched. Revo Snickers holding on to 8th in the B category. RCC Women for the B category there in 9th. And then it's going to be CWCC F1 hanging out in 10th in the B category for Division 1 EMEA.
All right, we'll take a look at the Division 1C here with KRTC hotter than hell with 36 points. There are leaders, another Aeonian team, the Chicas, in second with 32, 28 for the Vikings Freya. They're in third right now. Fourth, well, sitting there is the Herd of Cougar Chaos. That's 28 points, actually tied for third and fourth. I apologize. In fifth, then, 25 points for Socks for Watts, the Whatnots. Sixth place is Valhalla Trifing at 22, 1 point back. Fearsome in seventh. ZSU which I should say, I'm sorry, Z-Sun, the Rays, with 20 points in 8th. GC Mad Jalapenos in 9th. And you can see how this one is close. 16 points for the Revo Rolos. They're in 10th. So that's your Division 1Cs for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa.
And then for the D category, Herd of Dolphins won 39 points. Aeonian, again, they are just dominating, it looks like, and they're going to be in second there with 37 points. RCC Women D in third, followed up by TBR Wiggle On. Revels, tied for fourth. SZ Sain in sixth, 1 point separation. This is a serious battle for that top four spot. They're actually only at 27 points with CMA Misbehaving. In real life, Serrano Hams, followed up by GC Spokes and Mirrors in ninth, and BRT Delinda. That is going to be the situation currently for the team standings in the league here. So, Dave, the competition is hot here, it looks like, in the Zwift Racing League, WTRL. We've got 7 minutes and 38 seconds to the start of the women's. We will also be covering the men's West Division 1. They are going to be starting in about a little under like 42 minutes from now. Now, chat, if you do want to interact with us, let us know who your favorites are out there. We are watching as best as we possibly can to keep track of everything that everybody is saying. We can see a lot of fans of the Mighty Mellors as well as BZR. I'm seeing out there. We are seeing Cub Driver out there saying, go O'Connor for VCRT. Good question in here about Kirchmar. And this, so the question about Kirchmar, why isn't Kirchmar in the Premier League? And why isn't Sox for Watts? Why isn't Aeonian? Daniela Estrate is raced against that level. I mean, we have a lot of athletes. The move from Ed Hula there, that is definitely the type of move that you would expect in and amongst the Premier League as well. I mean, it's not like some of these riders couldn't be there. Ed Laverick as well, Wahoo Lacole. These are top tier athletes. Part of that has to do with the development of the sport. I mean, there's a reality also that at the Cat 1 level, there's some really, really fast athletes out there on the road right now that could work their way up through the sport, right? Earn their way into a top tier professional team. That's essentially what we have going on here now with this whole new start of the Zwift Racing League, Dave.
Yeah, and I can understand why there's a lot of questions like that out there. But I mean, Nathan, much like the Premier League with British football, you'll see that the top 2 teams will be promoted from this division that we're racing with today. So let's just say that the league wrapped up today. Aeonian would move up into the Premier division, and 2 teams would move down from Premier into this group. And that's kind of the way that we'll continue to keep sorting out the top talent. We had to start somewhere. The teams qualified a little over a month ago. They did some racing that helped sort it out, but it's a team sport. And so you're going to see, Nathan, that like any sport, at any given time, the best athlete in the world in their discipline might not be playing for the best team in the sport. They might not even at that moment be in what's considered the Premier League. And that's why we continue to play. That's why development matters. That's why you have, it's not going to be as simple as saying you'll watch riders go from D to C to B to A. It's not a linear progression like that. You'll see riders like Kristen Kolchinski, right, that jump in with have never raced outdoors before and who immediately is actually animating in the Premier League, which is that's what's so exciting, is that riders can come out of the woodwork. However, established riders definitely tend to rule the roost, but we make them prove it. That's one of the things about bike racing that, Nathan, you as a racer yourself know only too well. You're only as good as your last race in so many people's minds.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And also the reality of you do have some situations similar to in real life racing where you do need to earn a spot onto a team. These teams do need to earn kits in game now as well. So this is kind of, a lot of times there have been questions, how do we get a kit in game? How do we get a kit in game? And now there is this pathway to getting a kit in game. Like, you want to be a part of this top esports teams. Now at this point, we have the situation where, early on, teams that got in very early, obviously, got in their kits in games. in game, from being just around and doing the footwork from beta days on, and now at this point though, we have a situation where, okay, newer teams wondering, okay, how does this happen? There's a massive amount of teams that are looking for that specifically, and now we have a competition that can make that happen. And again, one of the things, if you wanted to be in the Premier League, you had to have an in-kit game. That was just the reality of it, making it a professional sport as much as possible. So getting to that level, this is how you do it through the WTRL Zwift Racing League. We've got 3 minutes and 14 seconds to the start of the race. Let's take a look back at how things played out in the B category for the men here. We had that attack from DBR that was super interesting, but then SZ coming over the top, and two guys as well playing it out here. So this is how things played out.
Here we are on Governors. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, so DBR, they led things out, as you can see here. It's going to be Enhudge there with the initial attack from bottom to top in the Governor Street climb there in this B category, though. So Odegaard led things out, 392, maybe looking to set up Enhudge led things out for Bozgaard there, looking to maybe set him up for a sprint or maybe go a 1-2. But two guys had other plans. They were closing things down as well as with Johnson. Johnson there with that aero power up coming over the top there on the Tron bike. Thought he was going to be able to hold on to it, but no, it was going to be two guys who are currently in the top spots here in this category, actually. And two guys able to come over the top there. Love Tiles out of Portugal with a solid kip, 9.7 watts per kilogram, 800 watts. That was the situation. And then it was going to be Jansen from SZ being rewarded. DBR with that third and fourth across the line. Big drop-off, though, in points there, though, Dave, amongst them. We are looking to try and get an update here on the results. It does look like we have done the impossible, again, not the impossible, but what we've seen a couple of times at this point. But the popularity and the amount of events that we have set up for this time of day, I think we've taken Zwift Power down again. I'm looking for updates here, but I believe for our results, Zwift Power is looking to try. And you've said it before, it might be a little bit of playing the same tune, but we've said it before. Yeah. It's a good problem to have to a point at this point that we're it's such a popular series that we're breaking some things.
I used to use that joke, Nathan, the old, this will shut down a server in China. I think the joke is on me at this point now. But you know what? One thing I've learned is you don't get dinner any faster by asking mom for it over and over. It'll be ready when it's ready. And I know that they're well aware, working hard on this. It is too much meat through the grinder, as they say. And this division, this European division, Nathan, it's off the charts when you look at so it's not only the number of racers, it's that they have friends and family and co-workers that are also all watching this and following it. And everybody is hip to Zwift Power at this point. And so what you're seeing is just a data forest fire going on.
Essentially, everybody's logging into Zwift Power, looking to see what the results were out there. And as it updates and they're looking to get all those updates, we are a little bit of an overload, as well as loading all those Zwifts, all those Zwift instances into Zwift Power. So the start of the women's race is just getting off. In 30 minutes, we are going to have the men's West race as well. But as they get on to Richmond, let's go ahead and jump right on into the action here, as this is going to be the women's A race here. And we've got some top talent out here. The Vikings, Team Draft, Team Revo, Aeonian is out here, as well as Socks for Watts. So be on the watch out for those are the top teams. I Race Like a Girl, also going to be watching out. I do see the name of Rachel Elliott. We'll see what she can pull off here. I've seen her have some big wins out on this course. I've seen her walk away solo actually plenty of times on this course. Amongst this field, though, I'm not sure that's going to be happening.
Nathan, Rachel Elliott is the perfect example of what you were just talking about. A rider who's got Premier League in her DNA, but is racing with us here. So, and that really, though, is if someone wanted an example of what is the talent like here, Rachel Elliott, Danielle Estrate, there's some big names massive engines in this race. This is a really good field. This is going to be one of the better races we get to watch all day. Okay, so taking a look at this group, Nathan, recognizing that we have a lot of folks joining us who weren't with us for the previous races. This is actually, they come at you in waves as we make our way around the globe with the Zwift Racing League. This is the Community Day, Tuesdays. We race around the planet with some of the best athletes that you could find. This is a perfect example of that. So they're already now working their way into this series. This is the European time zone that we're looking at. The women only have one race. It's a numbers thing. With the men, it's split into an east and west, and we'll have the Western European men coming up a little bit later. As Nathan mentioned, they're inside about half an hour to their start here. So we're looking at some big names, Nathan, that you're scrolling through up here. All potential race winners today here on the Richmond UCI World Circuit 2015 World Road Championships held in the United States right here on this course. They're doing 2 laps. Now, that's for the elite racers. Some of the other categories will be doing 1 lap, and 1 lap would be just enough for me, Nathan.
Yeah, it's 2 watts are going to be finished. I mean, 2 laps. They're going to be finishing it in a little bit over 40 minutes. We are looking at Leah Thorvaldsen here. This is the first Zwift Academy winner. She's going to be riding 4 Socks for Watts. And to get an idea of this rider out here, and the type of talent that is on this team, actually, Leah Thorvaldsen and the rest of the Socks for Watts team are definitely going to be one of the favorites to watch out for, because they've got Rachel Elliott, they've got Lizzie Duncombe, I believe. They've got Cassie Baldy, a former UK national champion of Zwift. Rachel Elliott winning some in real life events as well that were qualified for early on in some of the in real life esports events that were happening out on Zwift. Actually, Duncombe, excuse me, is she riding for Heino out here today, or is she guest riding?
She would be.
In for Socks for Watts? It'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. I'm gonna have to get some information from the Marman Martin as well as to how that's going to play out.
It's, people might say, how would you not know that? Well, Lizzie Duncombe has been racing for, I'm going to say, 3 different teams, Nathan. I don't have the answer to that. I'm guessing it was Heino, however. But so when she's doing the WTRL team time trials on Thursdays, you'll often see her. Well, for a long time, she was a cornerstone on that Socks for Watts team, which now has multiple incarnation as well. When you mentioned Leah Thorvaldsen, this is a legend that we have with us, much like Rachel Elliott, someone who's very well established in this community. But this is a who's who, Nathan, when you look around in our women's peloton here.
Yeah, it is. And, speaking of Socks Watts, they are going to do an amazing job. But also, we cannot ignore the reality of this new startup team. Not startup riders, but a new team in the last month that was formed. That's going to be Aeonian. So be on the watch out for them. Lawrence here. Natalie Lawrence, it looks like, riding for Wonder Woman in the community with the TTT here. But looks like jumping into Aeonian for the ZRL Premier League, perhaps. Or is there an Aeonian Wonder Woman mix here? That's going to be the question that I'm going to have to ask, as it looks like Aeonian have stacked their Division 1 team here with some of the top riders that have been challenging Socks for Watts. Because Natalie Lawrence, they won the TTT the last 2 weeks, I believe it was. So look at this. Aeonian, they have been on the recruiting. It looks like blazing a trail.
Yeah, it's worth noting that we reached that point in the season where, and it wouldn't have been the case for this level of teams, but we have found so much interest that all of the signups for this first season of ZRL is over. So if you want to get involved, we'd love you to, but it's going to have to wait if you're not already part of a team that's racing until we fire things back up for season 2 in January. Nice to see Jamie Lee Wright rolling up near the front. She has really come on strong. That's a rider on a great trajectory right now as we take a look at things thinning out, because Nathan, our first sprint is right in front of him here. We'll score this one 3 deep, 3 points for the first woman over the line. Boy, that's a photo finish there.
Yeah, that was so close. Might not be able to tell we'll take another look at it here. But as we see, the rider, who was very strong in the first week as well, thought she might be able to take down, and was able to take down Cassie Baldy there, as we see Baldy leading things out into the final few meters. But the crowd rider, even with a drafting power up, not sure she was able to do it. If we do look at it backwards here, I have a feeling perhaps it was just not quite enough here. As you do see, I think Baldy was just ahead of her at the line there, but we'll have to wait and see for the back end API. Let us know whether or not that was a win for Baldy. And 3 points, 2 points. And then I believe it was maybe Lawrence that came through for the 1 point across the line there for the Aeonian Wonder Women. And then Jamie Lee Wright, she making her way to the front. Wow. I mean, name after name that's popping up in this field here as we start to see it whittle down just a little bit.
So, Nathan, I think it's only fair for the audience that we're talking with right now to explain again how the point structure works. As race by race, the top team will get 20 points. That's based on the points that your team earns during that race. So let's use Richmond right now as an example. So when we'll use one specific team, Aeonian. They have at this point now, different riders that'll be trying to collect these bonus sprint points. Now, that's the 3, 2, and 1 that we're talking about. So let's say that you happen to win 8 of these bonus sprints. Well, you would end up with 24 points. Now, just to put it in perspective, these points are all added up, but there's a lot of points waiting at the finish line where 40 points go to the winner, 35 to second, and you work your way down. So that being said, all of the points from the day get put into a pool, and we sort out the top 20 teams, and then we work our way through 8 different races, 4 of the patented team time trials that our friends at WTRL conceptualized, and the scratch racing that we're looking at now, this points race format that we have underway. And Nathan, I'm going to throw it back to you because we have a pretty serious split happening right now here.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. Firestorms off the back here. Team Draft has gotten caught out as well. Sox Watts Pizza Party, Fairweather with BRT. They're trying to make the chase back here. They were within 2 seconds at one point, but the front of this pack kind of calmed right on down. You know, they had the ability to come back, I believe. I believe they had a couple of rides that could have done the work, but I think they believed a little bit too much in the speed and the strength and the numbers here and didn't understand that the front end of that field did not want those riders to stay involved. And there's a couple of attacks, well, not necessarily attacks, but some work being done at the front to make sure nobody comes back. And it is Sox for Watts that are making this happen, actually. Baldy was up in the 5.8 watts per kilometer, and they're also looking to set up for this next sprint. So because of that, the speeds are getting high because of positioning, and that is not in favor of that chase group. Looking for position really can ramp things up, big snowball, and you end up with an avalanche that takes down any kind of chase. Over 10 seconds, I don't think that's coming back.
Oh, boy, I tell you, me either, Nathan. Look at the names here. Lithgow, Claire Good, I saw a moment ago. Barbara Frisch, the rider from Argentina in this field. There's Mackay as well. So this group has so much depth. I'm going to be interested to see what things look like after we complete the first of 2 laps out here. A little over 16K per. And Nathan, really, I mean, separating the wheat from the chaff is what we witnessed there. That there was no real breakaway attempts. So we're looking at another sprint, though. Actually, let's call this one through. Points on the line, 3, 2, and 1. Let's see who's going to gobble them up here.
It's going to be Catherine Curry, I believe, with the arrow power up from the perfect position in the pack. Maybe a little bit early. Cassie Baldy trying to hang on. Not going to happen because of that arrow power up. And Catherine Curry for Sisu. I Race Like a Girl. Going to be a roll through, it looks like, with Baldy and then Lawrence there. Right with a counterattack, or maybe just a late kick, unable to grab those points. I think that was just bad timing there coming from Wright and Aeonian. But it was Wonder Women with Lawrence, I believe, just holding on for the last point across the line.
Yeah, and you wonder what's going on at the back of this group, Nathan. I'm going to imagine there's some riders who are going to be struggling just holding on to the wheel here, because it's not really what I'd call a complete counterattack, but this is going to put some real pressure on riders who were not feeling like they're on a good day here today. Let's talk about the course quickly. UCI Richmond. This is really 2 completely different courses built into one bike race. You've got a long 10K of completely flat racing, dishpan flat, as they say here in the States, into what becomes one of the most chaotic 6.2 kilometers of racing that you could imagine. With Libby, we've watched racing out here time and time again. This course never serves up anything but a Michelin 4-star rated race for us here as we take a look at more riders now fighting to try to rejoin. Nathan, my heart goes down to anybody trying to close down a gap like this against a field as we have here today. These ladies are flying, and look, it's starting to string out here. If that just tells me the pace is going up, 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 and up.
Yeah, and you can see that 2 riders off the back there, not going to be coming back and getting involved in this again with 4 seconds. Man, that was painful to watch because it is going to be Rican and it looks like Harcourt off the back. They were trying to work together. As soon as it hit that downhill, though, the speed of the pack was just too much. It went out from 1 second, 2 seconds, and they just were unable to claw their way back. Those sprints can open things up. You let those gaps go, the speed just gets too high, and they are gone. And this race is over, but it looks like it's going to be 54 riders up ahead. There's aero power-ups actually being used, interesting enough. So that's telling me that this pace has been very uncomfortable because these are not sections, unless that was a mistake, somebody just hit their space bar on accident. These are not sections where you would expect anybody to be using any kind of aero power-ups. That may be because a little bit of mistake on my part here. There's the chase group. This is actually a second split that happened on that downhill as well. So they're actually working together to try and hold off a large group of riders to keep this to be perhaps a group of 40, maybe a little less.
Well, I tell you, Nathan, I think that if you can get to the bottom of Libby without that group making the catch, there might be a little bit of cross-pollination between that chase group, and you could just see them there. Boy, this is going to be really interesting, but the pace is high enough. Again, this is the Aeonian rider, Jamie Lee Wright. She's racing out of London, England, that we're looking at right now as she is with this really, I mean, Aeonian has been the team that has risen to the occasion when you talk about the first few weeks of racing that we've had here in the ZRL, and they're not missing a step out here. So this is a select group, but Nathan, there's a few more selections that are going to be made, and one of them coming up not all that far from now as it's just about to get real as Libby, 23rd, Governors, and you think that'd be enough, but then we do it again for the second lap here.
Not sure that pack is coming back. We'll have to wait and see. You had
Doesn't
a
look
good point
good
there, though, Dave, that the patience, though, you can't the thing that's really difficult about this is you start thinking in this situation, it's 12 seconds up. You start thinking about how much time can I make up on Libby if he got a good kick, but you're reserving. You're trying to think, okay, well, if I'm going to come back to this pack, I need to reserve some energy. They're out of sight at this point, and you want to do work at the front to close things down, but there's also a reality that if you use too much energy, you're not going to be able to come across. So you're trying to play this perfect game of not too many matches burnt and really save up for a rocket launch at the bottom of Libby to go across. But with 15 seconds, that's just too much on a 115 climb, really, I believe. They're going to do this at 115, 120 most likely. And, 15 seconds on that, not going to happen. Now, you could bring a couple of with you, close 5 seconds, close maybe 8 seconds, and then close another couple of seconds on 23rd, and then close something on Governors. But they're going to be going so hard over the top of these. Now, they will be rusting, though, over the top and looking at each other, whereas the chasers, they're not going to be doing that. They're going to be just trying to chase the gap. So, Claire Good, this has been an insane pace. Look at the kind of nuclear explosions we're having here from the kind of riders we're having. I mean, these are not riders to wink at here, and they are suffering over and over again. 176 beats per minute here, interesting to see. Good, maybe having a mechanical issue as we're seeing the RPMs go all over the place, but at 176 locked, I have a feeling that has more to do with the pace that we've seen out here today.
Yeah, Claire, fresh off of a hill climb championship there in Wales, where she is from. That is a big surprise. I'm going to go with you on that one, Nathan. Taking a look at the front group right now as we're in with Holt of the Australian Hump Day ride, the ladies group, the Arctic Rollers here. So this group is just slowly whittling itself down, and we haven't even hit Libby Hill, but it is not far off, just there on the horizon. You could hear the crowd at this point now. and smell the sausages being grilled up. The Norwegian fans were particularly intense on Libby Hill during the World Championships, that's for sure. Look at Lizzie Duncombe moving up here. Yep. I've got, Heino. There we go. Answering that question for us is Lizzie, again, one of the very talented triathletes. Look at this, Nathan. They're blowing it to bits. Rachel Elliott in the right group. They make that turn onto Libby Hill. It's turning into an absolute Donnybrook. Catherine Curry, the former U.S. road champion. I knew she was going to have a good day today. She's on a fantastic day right now. That's Catherine Curry leading them onto this 6% 600-meter climb. Probably the toughest 600 meters in the sport. Here we go, Nathan. Points at the top of Libby Hill.
Duncombe sitting in that second wheel. Daniela Estrate, though, she has been waiting in the charge. And now here we go. It's going to be verse Catherine Curry. Daniela Estrate, does she have a kick, though? But Catherine Curry was waiting. I knew she was really keen for these points, and she grabs them. Daniela Estrate thought that she could play. She is so good at pouncing at the right time usually. But Catherine Curry was also very savvy to that, waited, and she kind of led that. I was thinking, this is too early to go to the front, but I knew at the wattage that she was throwing down there, most likely just saving something. Now, interesting to see Gamps with an arrow power up over the top here. Maybe on the attack, perhaps. No, maybe just making sure she's still involved. And this could be that arrow power up with that kick to the front. That's speed, and that speed is going to hurt riders off the back.
Well, that might be enough to put riders in some serious trouble, Nathan, because right now, Lizzie Duncombe, let's see here, I'm looking at my calendar, there was a major Ironman triathlon that was coming up in Portugal that a lot of the European-based triathletes, actually make it worldwide-based triathletes were looking forward to. That event was just canceled. So you've got some triathletes who've built up some serious form right now. Maybe not this type of form when we look at what'll be a sub 1 hour effort out here, but a very, very fit Lizzie Duncombe is riding in this group. We might be looking at the ultimate selection being made right now, because take some inventory here, folks. That's going to be Rachel Elliott, Daniela Estrate also here. So they're going to be galloping, Nathan. We'll look at this 23rd Street finish line here. The queen of the mountain points here, 3, 2, and 1. But this could be a race-deciding moment that we're looking at. Catherine Curry is in fuego. The rider out of Palo Alto, California, is absolutely crushing it here. Make it 2 for 2 on the climbing QOMs for Catherine Curry.
Cassie Valdi here now, trying to chase things down and glue it back together for Sox for Watts to work together with Duncombe. And then Catherine Curry for CCY's Race Like a Girl, the only rider off the front for them. She's going to have to pull some huge points off across the line for the scratch race, but it's 9 seconds. Very different race than what we saw in the men's race. We're going to have a breakaway situation here with what looks to be 8 riders. 8 riders, as Gilson is gone, Frisch is gone. It looks like big names.
Wow.
Jamie Lee Wright is out of this here. Is Natalie Lawrence out of this as well? Yaks, excuse me, but it looks like Lawrence, yes, off the back. That's one of the top riders in the world when it comes to a TTT, but this is not a TTT. This is nothing but kicks. This is haymakers. This is against the ropes. This is a boxing match, and you need to keep yourself on your feet, because you can find yourself standing and knocked out. Technical knockout, it looks like, for those off the back. And Duncombe leading out this 8-rider pack that has pulled themselves away. And I think this may be the race-winning move for these 8 riders.
Not making excuses for anybody, but, over the last couple of weeks, Lizzie Duncombe has been operating at a slight handicap as she's been doing these massive training rides. Well, her focus is going to be right squarely back upon races like this here in esports. And, man, her timing couldn't be better. She's found an awesome course to be racing on. That's going to be Cassie Baldy that we're looking at, another very talented rider. Nathan, this is exciting. What a group we're looking at here. Every one of these names resonates with me as a sports fan here. These are some of the giants of Zwift that we've got in this group. Nathan, they're going to have to look at each other here a little bit. Expect some bobblehead doll action for a little while. I don't think you want to attack out of this group. There is so much horsepower. There's 2 things to remember. I'll just make this statement now. Nobody is coming back into this group, okay? Lock the back door, throw another padlock on it. That is over. The conversation now is, so these women are going to be taking up the top points out here today. I'm looking and I'm seeing 8 riders. Do I have that right? I think it's 8 riders. So
it is 8.
That's the line. Yep. That's the Lionesses' share of
Look
points that
behind
are
him,
waiting
Dave.
at the finish
Look
line.
him behind him,
They're not
Dave.
coming. Okay,
Look behind
I'll
him.
make that statement. I'll own that statement. They're not going to get
Oh.
caught. But you can, if you think they're going to get caught, okay. That's why we make them race the bike to the finish line.
I'm not saying they're gonna cut. I'm just saying they're in sight. That's all I'm saying. They're in sight, and there might be some motivation.
I'm in sight of the moon. I'm in sight of the moon. I'm not going to end up on it.
We're not pulling a Despicable Me and capturing the moon today. We'll have to wait and see if Barbara Fish is going to make it happen. Maybe she's having a bad day and she can make it happen with some of that energy across into the pedals. But we'll see what happens here. It looks like Daniela Strate to the back. They're looking at each other a little bit, though, in this group. And if they keep doing it, we'll see.
Look, there's so much talent and horsepower in this front group that they don't need to ride at 98% to hold off that group behind them. And also, remember, there's a reason those ladies got dropped. They're not back there in that second group because they're having a great day. Okay?
No, 100%. That is very true. I think that there's a reality that the climbs and the reality of those climbs were just too much. Heart rates were too high.
The damage was done.
Exactly.
That is really, really tough. That's why you making the selection is how you become a champion bike racer. You make the front group over and over. It's not fun. It's not easy. It's what makes cycling the toughest sport in the world. But if you're not in that front group, you're really, really in trouble because you're with other riders that are struggling at that point in the race. You can't look at them and say, I need more from you, because they're giving all they've got themselves. This is the vanguard. This is the Tête de la Course. And let's take a look. You've got the Swedish rider, Frisk is here. You've got also here, we mentioned there's Lizzie Duncombe, the Heino rider. How many does Heino have here? Because this looks like, again, they have been incredibly strong, and it looks like they're doing it again with 3 of the 8 on Heino. Wow.
Yeah, Duncombe, Elliott, Baldy, all together here. It looks like that's going to be a situation for Sox for Watts. But I believe Duncombe is guest riding for Sox for Watts because Heino is a Premier League team. So I believe that something's going on there with Duncombe. Duncombe is she's in. So I was going to say that earlier as well, that the kit that is being used for Sox for Watts today is going to be this blue and white kit here out here. So we can recognize.
Good cat. My bad. Yeah. Right. Exactly. It gets confusing, doesn't it? You're going to see Heino next to Lizzie's name, but Nathan is 100% correct. Sox for Watts is the team that she's riding for, and they have really stacked this one here. So they were the second place team coming into this race. Aeonian, who has one rider here, that's Daniela Strate in the camo green kit at the back of the group. Nathan, this is going to be a game changer for Sox for Watts. Today is the day that they're going to start pouring it on, certainly looking to take the top 20 points out of today's race. And that's why it's a season-long series. You got to do it week after week.
Yeah, and we do see, though, that Sisu, I Race Like a Girl. If we take another look here real quick, and no, we do not want to go into the men's West there. Appreciate that, Zwift. But as we look here at the standings right now, we do have another Zwift, just so everybody knows. We will be jumping in the men's West. That's not saying that we're not going to cover it, just saying that not at this moment from this race. But just as a heads up, everybody, the situation currently for the racers and these teams, Aeonian has Daniela Strate, the only rider at the front here. They're currently leading at 38 points. Sox for Watts, though, 2 to 3 riders in here will be, they're going to be scoring points. Followed up by BRT. They have one rider here with Gamst, right? And then Sisu I Race Like a Girl, they also have a rider. So all of the teams at the top are represented here. BRT, Aeonian, but Sox or Watts, they're the ones with the most to gain. And they could take over that top spot pretty easily. Strate, she's going to have an amazing race here to come close to matching what these other ladies from Sox Watts are going to be able to do.
Yeah, and you have to remember then that the points that are going to be scored by that second group are going to be absolutely critical. If Aeonian has, I know they have if they have Jamie Lee Wright there, we know that. Who else is there? And we'll have, so this is where also, Nathan, the other point I'd like to make is that with the point structure here, even if Sox for Watts absolutely takes first, second, and third in this race, they still might only gain 1 point on Aeonian. and turn this into a tie, 20 versus 19 in the point total. That's different than the individual race point total. Those points all get put together, and then we sort it out from 20 on down. So it's not exactly an easy structure to understand, but once you look at it, it makes sense. This is going to be, as we take a look here, the chase group that we were talking about. And see, Aeonian has Frisch here.
I think
Jamie
Miller,
Lee Wright.
I believe Miller
Yep.
is also in a green kit. So I have a feeling that perhaps she is that she's in the exact same shit. She just might not have the tag in her name and game, but it might be in Zwift Power. Hopefully,
Good catch.
I'm hoping tag. We need the tag, but Miller here in the green kit, as you can see, and it looks like Lawrence and her are working together. It would be to their advantage to chase down, I believe, because with only Estrate up there and she's just sitting in, that's the situation, because it's not about first across the line so much as it is about as many at as high as you can get. If they believe, if Natalie believes, and Natalie's a strong rider, if she believes she got dropped, but not necessarily because she doesn't have it, she might want to get involved up there and get a top 3, top 4.
Here's the interesting thing, though, right? So it's a bird in the hand and 2 in the bush kind of thing, because if your team sacrifices a ton to try to chase this back and close it down, that could backfire on you as well. But this is really interesting racing going on. This long, flat section that we're on now, again, 10K a flat per lap as they make their way through old school Richmond here. Front group now, taking a look at Rachel Elliott. They have every reason to want to keep the pace high right now. Talking about Socks for Watts. That's the team in the light blue jersey here. Elliott, again, out of the United Kingdom, one of the most decorated, celebrated riders in esports history. And you can see with 3 riders in this group, it looks like they are all going to be all about trying to keep the pace up. Catherine Curie is going to be more than happy. Daniela Strate going to be more than happy to sit on right now, Nathan. So a bit of a tactical slugfest going on here.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting because Socks for Watts, this is so tactical right now, everyone, because look at this. Socks for Watts have to waste energy to hold off Aeonian. Estrate, she's sitting in, boom, grabs the points, right? So, and then Catherine Curie, she gets the benefit of it. So look at this. You end up with a situation where
And there goes
Socks for Watts,
Curie again.
they have to waste themselves in order to hold off these chasers and then not get points. They got 1 point there from Duncombe, but what's that going to do here? Is this going to be a situation where they have to rest up? Duncombe's like, I'm just going to go. Goodbye. 3.6 watts per kilogram coming from them currently. Will she go? I mean, with how many bodies there are behind her, she could do this, Dave.
I don't know if they're frustrated, but they're going to look like they might want to split this group right now. Again, ignore that high note. Duncombe racing for Socks for Watts out here today. That's going to be the group behind them. You're right, Nathan. This is fascinating. A Machiavellian chess match on wheels that we're looking at here as we're in with Gilson, the Cryo Stelvio rider here. Now Hudson of the Bristol Flyers team. This is
Did
Chase
they pick up some
1.
more riders, Dave? This looks like a glue.
I think it does. I agree. This is really interesting. Now, we're watching this split between that first group that hasn't gone full gas. Nathan, you called that exactly right when you analyze what's going on up here. This is back to the front group now. Frisk, the rider that we're looking at, the Swedish rider.
Now, you know what makes it so interesting, and this is what I love about WTRL, the way they set up these points and the structuring and the teams. That's what's making this tactical moment where it's not just roll away. Oh, well, first across the line and we're all going to work together. There's a tactic going on here where Estrate is like, no, bring the Aeonian back. We see, Natalie Lawrence with Aeonian and the rest of those saying we can get more riders and more up in the front pack here. And, there's a lot of motivation here. I Race Like a Girl, if they have anybody back there, Cryogen as well. I mean, there's a lot going on here. Frisk with SZ, she's probably got some riders back there saying, hey, come back. And Sox Watts, they're getting frustrated, as you said, and they're like, okay, fine. We just need to, maybe they're giving up the ghost here saying, we're not going to waste ourselves. We need to be the first across the line. We're not going to waste that 40 points that we think we can get, right? Because if they keep on doing the work, they're not going to do it. They're going to get beat by Estrate or Catherine Curry, most likely, if they keep on putting that work in.
I'm stunned, and absolutely, Nathan. What a really bizarre, and that's it. They're making the catch now. These are riders that are coming across from that second group. So something that I absolutely did not think could happen. There was no way I could imagine that. But again, they started looking at each other. Socks for Watts realized this was not an ideal situation for them. You'd think with 3 riders in an 8-rider group, they'd be really happy, but not when you've got Estrate and Catherine Curie in that group, because as they continue to push the pace to hold off this chase group behind them, these ladies gathered themselves. They certainly didn't listen to me. They never gave up, and then they dug in. And Nathan, they made the catch, and that's why you never give up in this sport. That was really a learning moment there as we go through from the end of lap number 1 deep into lap number 2. This has turned into a bike race that I'll look back on and say, I learned some things out there today as we now have reset things. This is the front group all together now. Pretty close, Nathan, I'd say, to 30 riders in the vanguard or the front group here. And the good news is the fireworks are yet to come as we've got a trip up Libby, back down to the bottom of 23rd, where we'll go up to the top. There's 2 QOMs along the way, one on Libby, the top of Libby, and then one at 23rd. And then they start the trip to the finish line there.
Baldy, did Baldy go back to the pack perhaps? Because I did see that one of the Socks for Watts riders kind of said, okay, I'm not going to do any more work up here, and almost dropped off knowing that they were going to come back to him. It looked like they did pick up a couple of extra riders for Socks for Watts to work with though too. So it wasn't like, it was a complete loss either in that respect. We'll see if it fully resets, if they get some more energy in the tank, take down a gel, some water, and maybe some of these riders after that first lap warm up to it a little bit. We'll have to wait and see.
Interesting, Nathan. I'm wondering if Rachel Elliott is out of this group now. I'm hearing some chatter on the internet that she might have had
mechanical
some issues. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's take a look and see if we can find Rachel Elliott. The situation that really, if we go back and now we're looking at the sprint here. But Nathan, what I think really happened there with that break was the other riders like Curie and Estrate and company, Frisk as well, in that group, they looked and they said, look, I'm not going to help right now the Socks for Watts ladies. They've got numbers. So I'm going to sit on. That frustrates Socks for Watts. They realize we're going to have to do a ton of work to hold off this group behind us, and then we're just going to get jumped by some of the other riders that have been sitting on. But it takes a look now, Nathan. We really sorted things back out. Another group is forming on the front, not entirely the same, however, as this time Aeonian's got another rider up there.
Oh, no. So Zwift crashed for Rachel. It looks
there you go. That's what I was hearing. Right.
Yeah, I'm seeing she's in the chat saying that Zwift had crashed. I did see her avatar going backwards, and I got really confused. I wasn't sure what happened. So, too bad to see that there. Rachel Elliott, Socks for Watts, and I know Socks for Watts are really gunning for that top spot, but they are pretty unstoppable in the TTT. Them and Aeonian going head-to-head here. Now Duncombe, along with Cassie Baldy, they're going to have to carry the torch here for the team here at this point, but they got a lot of strong women to work against. So we'll see how this ends up playing out because Aeonian are going to want to hold on to that top spot.
Well, and that explains what happened to that breakaway as well.
Good point, because Rachel Elliott is a freight train when it comes to TT, when it comes to just pure threshold. She would have been a serious, contender to try and hold off that pack. So without that extra numbers, I think as soon as maybe a drop-off in Discord, a little bit disorganization, not knowing what's going on, where'd Rachel go? Do we wait? Next thing you know, a couple of seconds are gone. It's over. Real quick here, Dave, though. We need to jump on in. The first sprint in the men's West is opening up. So let's go ahead and jump on over there as we have A. Dawson here opening things up. We'll jump back on over to the women's race. They head over to Libby Hill after the first sprint here. Dawson, 10.4 watts per kilogram. This is an early attack actually here in the men's West. But O'Connell, this is his second race of the day. This guy did this earlier today actually with this jump. Will he hold on up into that 774 here? P. O'Connell out of Ireland. Ali Peckover though for Red Bull trying to come on through, and not going to happen there. Peckover's going to take it there. Brett Boniface for restart coming through for third, I believe. Now will there be a break here? We'll have to wait and see, as they do have a little bit of a gap and very competitive though here. Now, speaking of this group and this division in the West, These are some huge names amongst them. Brett Boniface, Ali Peck over there. We're seeing O'Connell from WTR, Luke Jabot. Also, Dan
Wow.
J there from Restart, Revel with Tour 2K, Kim Little from, another former UK national champion of Zwift there from Team Experimental. So, top talent here in the men's race west.
Boy, this is going to be a Donnybrook, no doubt about it, Nathan. Ollie Peckover, I see you're in with right now. Those are some of the most recognizable names in esports. Much like the European community races, Nathan, if someone told me that I was watching the Premier League, I would believe them. I would buy what they are selling because the level is incredibly high out here. So the guys 5.1K in. Again, the wave of racing that we're covering right now might have the biggest volume as if you look at racers per minute that we have, because certainly, and it makes sense, bike racing, I think its ancestral home would be considered in the continent of Europe, and that certainly doesn't disappoint. So the women are making their way into the finale. The guys from the Western group of Europe, Middle East, and Africa are well into it. Same scenario. They'll have 8 sprints along the way in this time zone. If you're in the C's or the D's, you're racing for 1 lap. So that makes for 4 sprints total. 2 of them on the flat, 2 of them over on the climbs, or we call them climbs, more like classic type climbs that you would see in Belgium, talking about Libby Hill and 23rd. So back to you, Nathan. 6K in now, almost 6. There it is. For Hendry and company, this is your men's A field just getting underway.
Yeah, and there's a tie at the top here for first place with Restart and Plastic Cockneys, actually. And we're looking at Hendry here from the Restart team. That's going to be the team also of Brett Boniface. Dan J is out there riding for them. I believe Luke Jabot is also going to be riding for them. So lots of big talent there trying to hold on to that top spot. Plastic Cockneys, also a big team in the WTRL TTT. We've seen WTL Skylab there currently sitting also in 3rd place. Team Experimental with Kim Little out there today from Team Experimental. Going to be able to try and hold on to 4th place there. Then a little ways back by 10 points. It's going to be in real IRL, Ireland, Nagabombs. And then it's going to be Bike Strong KTM, Z Sun Understatement. And then it's going to be Team Italy 1 Fusion Development. And then SDW Vesire is going to be the racers in the top 10 in this. We're calling it the Super Pool of the Division 1A, essentially. So the top tier in Division 1. So moving away forward here, going to get a sprint. Second one opening up here. Revel in the 10th or 10th place here. So going to start ramping things up. Watch out for Tour 2K. They got a solid kick. Rowan King Jedi's loving this name here. He was trying to come through. Wow, show here out of from Evo with a kick from the field, 12 watts per kilogram. They were definitely sitting still, watching each other a little bit. And with that kick, he gets a gap. Can he hold on to it? I'm not sure it's going to happen here. Boniface now 14 watts per kilogram. The speed is coming on, 56 kilometers per hour. Boniface kicking at 63. I think he may make the catch just enough landscape. Or is Evo going to hold off? I think they've done it. Kim Little coming on through for 3rd. Wow. That is an old school battle we're seeing here. Boniface versus Little. I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah. Hey, what do we time machine back to 2017? Here.
Pretty awesome.
Take a look. It looks like we're back in with the women now here on Libby Hill, and no surprise to see the familiar Lizzie Duncombe here. About halfway up the climb. Points are on the line here. 3, 2, and 1 for the first 3. Catherine Curie, who's gobbled up some points earlier. Daniela Estrate there in the camo. Estrate's coming on strong. Curie's going to, Daniela Estrate will take top bonification with Catherine Curie across the line. Lizzie Duncombe 3rd. Nathan, what's going to happen next? This race is a nail biter.
Yeah, and this could definitely break apart. 3 off the front. 3 teams represented. Duncombe coming over the top here. Looks like 3.4 watts per kilogram coming from her. 178 beats per minute. She may not want anybody to come back because this will, if they can get away, it will guarantee her some solid points. I believe it's 40, 35, followed up by 30. So 5-point spread between each of the places in the top 3. So that's a pretty big jump. Curie has been so strong, though. Danielle Strate only took that, I believe, because of the feather power up, honestly, because that was so powerful on that specific climb. Now, the chase here from Frisk, they're going to catch him, but they're going to catch him at a second that may not benefit them a whole lot, depending on the speed they can carry through. They're going to have 3 seconds into this climb is a pretty significant here, Dave.
Yeah, Nathan, and you have highlighted, and boy, that super tuck there from Estrate, well played. As Catherine Curie, the rider in pink and purple here, is now, I would have to say, fully recovered, but she had a broken arm just a few months ago, and I have to say she's going to be awfully tough to beat here today. She's just shown this kind of talent over and over out here. As Curie, again, it's not over. You always see, as you mentioned, Estrate is so good at picking riders off at the line. Is she going to do it again?
The timing? Yes, she does!
She does! Oh, man.
Daniela Estrate. She knows how to Zwift. She is so good at this platform here. They get 2 seconds over the top of Jamie Lee Wright. Jamie Lee Wright, the only rider that was almost able to come across, and that's going to be Aeonian trying to put 2 riders in the top 4. That's big points, actually, because for fourth place, 27 points. Even if they got third and fourth, that would be 57 points for the team, and that would solidify themselves at the top here.
You remember, Nathan, when Estrate was sitting on, as Sox for Watts had the 3 riders back when Rachel Elliott, before she had her incident? Well, the only rider that I could see that's an impact player right now that was in that second group that's now up here making a play would be Jamie Lee Wright. That's super, super impressive to be in that second group and now playing in the front group here. And these are the lion's share of points that we're looking at. Lizzie Duncombe is going to be looking for a bit of a kick save here, trying to, they were in a really good position about 20 minutes ago. All of a sudden, as it will happen in bike racing, everything was going great until it wasn't. And now Lizzie Duncombe is going to try to make up for that. So Duncombe, the triathlete, she's got Catherine Curie, and that group right behind is going to make the catch here, Nathan. So we're going to reset this with a little under a dozen riders right now. So this is it. This is the vanguard going into the finale. We're going to watch that up in the upper left-hand corner. You're going to watch the gradient start to increase. It never gets really, really severe, but it never really backs off either until you're in the final 400 meters or so. This right here, right now, is the bike race. One of these women on your screen is going to come away with a huge win. The question becomes, does she have the teammates with her to end up taking the team points? And that's what it's all about. Aeonian looks like things have gotten much better for them, Nathan.
Look at this, though. Okay, making the catch at the bottom of Governor is horrible. I mean, I've been in this situation, and it hurts so bad. Unless you rode the wheels to this point, right? And I believe Cassie Baldy did that. I'm not positive. She might have been one of the ones making the catch, but I thought I saw her coming across, because if they want to challenge Aeonian, they need to go 1-2. They need 40 and 35, I believe. Sox Watts have not grabbed a lot of points. We've seen Catherine Curry grab a ton of points so far. So is Cassie Baldy setting up? She has a great sprint. Duncombe, I'm not sure, has the amazing sprint. She may be able to hold on for a top podium. If she can lead things out, hold on for second or third, be a great situation for Sox Watts, because the reality is that Aeonian have so many riders here. They need to go 1-2, or Aeonian will distance themselves, I believe, in that lead that you can see them having. They've got 1 point right now. That's the current league standings for the overall league. It's 20, 19, 18 for the top 3 for the win on the day, but Catherine Curry might just steal the show from everybody, and it might not even be a situation between Sox or Watts at all and Aeonian, as Daniela Estrate looks to respond.
So many things to talk about here, because I think it is going to be Catherine Curie taking the win here today, but it's going to come down to the depth of the teams. When you look at Sox for Watts, who are sitting in second, Aeonian, the top team, coming in, but it looks like Catherine Curie is going to be the queen of Richmond here today. So the rider out of Northern California for Sisu, I Race Like a Girl, is going to be the gold standard, but that's not the entire story here. It's still not over, and it looks like that is Danielle. Let's see here. It is Daniela Estrate who's trying to make that catch here late in the race.
Duncombe coming across. Oh, not quite able. It looked like as we had, it was MacIver there from Cryogen, Distrate, I believe, taking second. So we'll take a look at the replay. We'll get that solid for everybody because it looked a little confusing with the camera angles there for a second. But we'll take a look at that. In the men's race, they are just crossing over the top of Libby right now. So we'll definitely bring that in as well. But across the line there, the kick, as we can see, it was Duncombe. It looks like coming in for, as you can see, that
This is for third place that we're looking at.
Third place. And she was able to hold on, it looks like, just over the rider from Cryogen. I believe Cassie Baldy taking the next place across the line. So that's the situation. Now, in the men's race, we just saw, I'm going to take a look at this real quickly here, move it back just a tad. And we just saw the kick over the top in the men's race of the Libby Hill, and it was Reese from Bike Strong KTM that took that down by a good amount. But it's going to be Almeida here from HDR, followed up by Boniface, and then Jager. Jaden Jager didn't even know he's jumped on over to restart as they're using the old Technicolors here, it looks like. So that's 1, 2, 3. Almeida, Boniface, and I believe Jager. Not sure that the Plastic Cocktails with Howells were able to hold on to that.
Jager, a U.S. national champion in the time trial, always a guy that's handy to have with you in a small group. Workhorse, that's for sure. In with Howells now, the Plastic Cockneys. Now, Nathan, we should probably at some point we'll be able to look so much going on here as what happened in that women's race. You could see how the depth of the teams, riders in the second group were as important as riders in the first group when you start looking at these points. And that's something that we should continually remember here. Catherine Curie winning outright in the women's race. Just because you win the race doesn't mean your team is going to be the top team. And that's really ultimately how we're keeping score. A bit of a split going on now, but they're going to weld that back together as we are now looking at one unified front group here. Although not a large group. Kim Little, right in the sweet spot there, having a great ride today. Always good to see Kim in the mix.
There's enough firepower here amongst these groups that I believe this is going to come back together for at least a top 30, I believe. I mean, Mike Schwartz here from Restart, he's going to want to get back involved. I mean, Cunningham's off the back. That is surprising. Gray is here as well from Team Experimental. Aiden Sinclair, Canyon.
Yeah, there's a lot of horsepower.
I mean,
yeah,
obviously this has been crazy fast. They come into Governors. There will be a catch being made, only 5 seconds back. I believe the riders that are off the front here may have burned some nitrous oxide and are looking for a reprieve at this point.
I have a feeling, though, Nathan, that you do see the reintegration of those two groups before the next sprint here. And this will be fun to watch. This is a good preview of the finish of the race here as well as they make their way up Governors. You can see 5% there up in the top left-hand corner. I mean, that's something to write home about, especially as your leg Zach Herod, rider out of England. That's always going to be interesting. Finish suits him quite well. Nathan, you could just keep scrolling through this group, and every one of these riders has a tremendous backstory here. This is a really strong field with a tremendous amount of experience. Zach is on the young side of things, I would say, a U23 rider, and even, I would think maybe even around 21 years old. So one of the emerging talents. Brett Boniface, the Canadian.
Always great to see the young talents. And that's something that we're seeing a lot in this community league too, as well, is these development teams that are really starting to come to the forefront. Speaking of Canyon Dev on the front, making a little bit of a counterattack. They can see that things are coming back together. They don't want that. They're taking a risk here, as it looks like, as we are going to have Gervasio off the front. And it looks like they're going to let him go. Only 5-1 on the, only 5-1. His heart looks to maybe keep the speed high. A couple of these riders think that this is a moment, and it can be. Almeida says, okay, let's give it a go. AHDR looking to go across, and they keep this up. It's going to split, I believe, because this moment is usually where riders are looking to get rest. They say 3 times. We've already done 3 intervals at 10 watts per kilogram over and over again. Can we just back off? There's nothing left in the tank, and sometimes they just let it go. There's a risk here, that's for sure.
There really is, and that's the game that you play. That's you got to let the game play, that element of bike racing. And right now, it looks like it is going to reset here, Nathan. But the next sprints will be challenging, but nothing quite as challenging as Libby Hill will be because they will be dropping bombs. I think you're going to see a few riders coming back here, staying. They should be motivated by what they saw in the women's race a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it was definitely very interesting seeing how it came back together here, and we'll see if these riders can make that happen. 8 seconds back. Plasticock is trying to make something happen here. Griffiths as well from the Jedi. Almeida there, HDRCC. Sinclair gets back involved. Good to see, because that's a rider I was surprised to see off the back. Perhaps just got caught out a little bit. Didn't have maybe the kick the first time around, or maybe a little inattentive. Thought he could sit in somewhere where he couldn't, because this is a rider to be expected for me to be involved in the sprint, but again, the level is just so high. What was really interesting was to see Kim Little involved toward the front end of this race, and obviously been training a little bit. I mean, this is a rider that has been around from the get-go of racing out on Zwift, and we've seen him win many of races. And, there is just a reality of experience playing out, though, too. Knowing how to hide, knowing how to use your wattage, use your matches at exactly the right times. And I do believe that there's still amongst a lot of these packs just some pure, just big engines that can just make things fast and hold on because they're strong. But then you got riders like Brett Boniface, Kim Little. They've been around for years, and they know exactly when to go. And they might not have the biggest engine, but they have a good kick and they know how to time it.
Yeah, it's not, as we've joked, it's not an exercise contest. It's not the guy who puts up the highest watts per kilo. A lot of times it's the guy who can keep that number low and still be in the front group. That's your real champion. That's the real hero out here. So, Nathan, that group that we were looking at a moment ago, the front group here, every point available will go to guys in that group, but there's going to be about 5 of them that will go home empty-handed. That's right there, that look, okay? That's every point waiting at the finish line will be distributed amongst these guys. And there is going to be a handful of them that won't have any points. And that's brutal to make it to this point, this selection, because we started with almost 130 riders. Let's call it 128 on the start list here. So this is not the ultimate selection, but a big selection has been made. But this group splits one more time, to say the least, here. That's amazing. Kim is also very technologically savvy, isn't he?
I love it. Stop mentioning my small engine. He comes in, and he's obviously watching the broadcast. Good to see Kim hanging out in the broadcast as well.
Great guy.
He does so much.
Yeah.
Does so much for the Zwift world in the background too, as well. And been involved in the broadcasts, been involved in the racing, been involved in real life events we've had over the years as well in a major way. So Kim, obviously, a huge part of this whole racing scene, if you did not know. Let's take a quick look right before we hit this sprint point. This was the situation that we missed earlier, and it was going to be Boniface leading things out over the first Libby Hill, and this is how things split. But, Reese was off the front with Bike Strong. He walked away with this. Boniface trying to chase it down, not going to happen. It looks like Restart going to take that second and third with Luc Jabot with that third place. So that's going to be, CryoGen from France. They're getting the third place. So that's going to be 3-2-1 across 3 different teams. That was the situation for the sprint into Libby Hill. I believe we did not grab the kick into 23rd Street, but we did see it actually live. It was going to be Almeida, followed by Boniface, and then Jager. So that was the sprint situation across there. May have been third across line with Plastic Cockneys. As we come into the next sprint point, things about to heat up as Tor 2K with Hutchins is on the front. Luke looks to be sitting perfectly, looking to grab a wheel as things are going to start ramping up. It's always about that 10th to 5th place with the kick if somebody doesn't go early.
Well, it must have started snowing up in Quebec because Luc Gilbeau is back. Seems like it's been a while. It's been a minute, Nathan, since we've seen the very talented Canadian. And here we go. We're going to be actually jumping in with the sprint here now. Feather power up being deployed. That is so deceptive. When you look at that finish line, you think, oh, of course he's got it. But no, look at the swarm like killer hornets coming for you, Nathan. And they're gobbling it up there.
Luke Chabot and Boniface restart. They're going to be happy with that. A little
Boy,
bit
those
of
boys.
infighting, but they take 2 and 3. So solid kick there coming from restart. Boniface and Luke Chabot, they are the workhorses on that team. Peckover trying to come on through. Not sure he was able to grab points there from Unwin, as I believe Unwin was able to slip through with 1. As Ali still involved, maybe a little bit frustrated though with how much matches were burnt and not a whole lot of points to show for it. Now as they move backwards into the pack as it rolls on through, we are seeing a rider using an arrow power up on the back, so obviously this is hurting. Aiden Sinclair, not sure he's having the kind of ride he's used to, as now Sean Vinton off the back. Interesting to see. That's not a name I would expect, but I believe I think Aiden is having a rough day. I think there's been dropouts maybe because this is full zeros, and that may be why he was in that chase group, or he's having a bad day and is disconnected at this point and is just like, I got to throw in the towel. Sometimes you train too hard. Sometimes you overtrain. Sometimes you just have a bad day. But that is not expected from such a talented rider.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect it to get to this point in the race and be in this group and to say that either. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to guess that there was a technological thing. That's always hard to watch, isn't it? Because there's no doubt that this is a hard 27 minutes to get to this point as we pick up the front group here. And they're well into it now, deep into the final lap. It's only 2 laps out here, but when you say only, these are 2 of the more challenging laps that you find in esports, Nathan. Richmond UCI course, and we're coming up on the meat and potatoes of this course with about 10K flat as can be until you drop down, and I call it Dante's Inferno, when you look at Libby, 23rd, and then the run governors up to the finish line.
The cryogen rider here, Siegel, has really been impressive and coming out of nowhere. Max Siegel, cryogen, putting them on the map here a little bit here today as he's taking down some points. We'll see if he has something similar for the 40 across the line, because those are the big points. Tor2K Callus, always ones to watch out for. They've been hanging out in that blue kit, as you can see, very close in the World Social Ride, WSR, one of the longest standing group rides out on Zwift. And was kind of the original, prior to AHDR, that was kind of the original everybody was showing up to during the beta days, old school days. So good to see them jumping into that kit with Tor2K Callus. They've got 2 riders, it looks like, with another one right here with Revel, and then one other rider there with them. We'll see if they can pull something off for the sprint there today. Off the front a little bit, it's going to be Anderson, perhaps, from Z-Sun. Coretta there with no tag. Team Italy, I'm assuming, though, with the Italian flag.
Plastic Cockneys have put quite a few guys up into this group, along with Restart, Nathan. I'm trying to identify the teams that are in a strong position right now. We talked about Canyon Dev, one of the top. Canyon has such a great structure to their programs, that's for sure. They do a tremendous job. That's a real model team to look at. But look at Restart right now, Nathan. They're lining this one up quite nicely here. No one team can say that they're taking command of this bike race right now, but Restart has got to be really happy. I see them with their entire team in this front group. Not maybe -1, but that's a really, really impressive job. And here we go. Another sprint coming up. They're going to be contesting, but it looks like O'Connell, again, the Irishman, crushing this.
And he's actually been able to win almost every sprint that he's gone for, but no, he's going to get overtaken, the timing. Yeah. And he's tried to get away early, O'Connell, at almost every time we've seen. And he's almost made it happen up until this point here. So O'Connell, the tactic not working out for him this time, as it's going to be Jubal and Boniface making it happen. Ali there tried to follow things up. I think he's just going to try and sit in, though, a little bit more, knowing that was taken down don't burn too many matches. Wait for the KOMs. See if you can grab a couple of extra points there, and then it's going to be 40 across the line. That's what a lot of these riders are going to be thinking about now.
Yeah, I mean, you really do start moving into that mentality here. These guys are going to keep pressing on, though. Certainly, there's the catch being made as we will reshuffle. And you take a look at this group getting a little bit ragged at the back, Nathan.
Yeah, I have a feeling maybe, with this, it's not expected, but this course is so difficult that during these little bit of kicks, people are just looking for a little bit of extra rest, and they can get caught out for it. It looks like O'Connell maybe saying finished best of luck, so done for the day perhaps, and maybe not interested in attacking across the line. WTRL maybe just grabbing a couple of points with him out on course here. Is he going to be he's not the only rider. We are seeing another WTRL kit making its way backwards here. It's going to be a Belgian rider, going to be Dabalier, I believe it is. So, and a couple others involved there too. So that's going to be some solid points there for WTRL, and he's just there to grab those points. And that's the cool thing about the team structure. You do have the reality of being able to go out there, grab points in the KOM, in the sprint. That was your job. You're not really a guy who's there for the KOMs, perhaps. Maybe not a climber, not a puncher. You can sprint well, grab your sprint points, throw in the towel. I think they have to cross the line, though, still. So we'll have to wait and see.
So what we're looking at now is a group that has whittled itself down to this select number, and they make this turn, and then you really start to. So we've given up all. It's really two plateaus that you're looking at. Most of that flat section happens up above. You drop down, and then you have this few kilometers that run you up to the bottom of Libby Hill. You actually ride right past it, just below it, before you make a U-turn, and then head back, and then next thing you know, you enter that world of pain that is Libby Hill. And that really that's the beginning of the end of the bike race there, Nathan. Once we hit the bottom of Libby Hill, that begins the final act. And unfortunate to hear that from Reese here. Aiden is injured. I would agree that's more than sad. Aiden, our thoughts are with you, my friend.
Yeah, so it seems that would be what is going on with the situation with him being off the back there. Got to call a day. Made a start. Sometimes you try, even with an injury, to try and make it happen, but you need to know when to call it. And good call by Aiden, though, there. Heal up, make things, get well, and then start racing again.
And Nathan, he made it all the way, that he must have been really going through a lot of pain to pull out like that. I'm impressed with the caliber of these athletes. That's for sure. Always have been. All right. Well, picking this one back up. This is that section we were just talking about that leads you to Libby Hill. Positioning, Nathan, that's what makes this sector no fun, is that you can't afford to just sit on the back of this group, because if you get caught at the back of the group, by the time you hit Libby Hill, you're never going to see the front again.
Yeah, and you do see the pressure was on for a moment there. It was interesting to see how it was breaking up just a tad, but now with so fewer riders, there is a danger here of people getting away. As you start getting into this more, 15 riders, 20 still has enough if it's only one or two off the front. But if you get a group of 5 that splits to 15, riders are struggling, you can get a breakaway, where if you get into that 25, 30 riders, usually it just snowballs way too much. But with the reality of these kicks, how much time you can get on these kicks over the top of Libby in 23rd, this is dangerous. And so riders are really going to be thinking about how hard they can punch, and then whether or not they want to stay on it all the way through to try and make it to the finish line. It's not necessarily about Libby. It really is about 23rd, and that's the reason why Sagan made that move there. I mean, he was kind of the leader, the first go, the test about, okay, this is how this works on this course. And we've seen it so many times now.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, though. But Libby is where you can lose the race, but you can't win it.
Yeah, exactly. You can lose the race there. You can also split the race there, and it's all about holding on through. Timing is so important. A weaker rider that doesn't kick too hard up front knows that it's all about that first 10% kick, then just hold on through the red and get over the top, roll through, find a wheel. Been there many a times. You just got to make sure you close every single gap, no matter what. I've watched gaps go away, and not get closed down too many times on this climb because you think you've got the numbers, but everybody else is suffering as much as you are. Somebody has to shut that down.
Yeah, it really, so much of this course, the finale, is who's willing to dig deeper. And I mean, how many times have we seen that in that last 400K once it finally flattens out? I mean, just trying to hold off that last surge. That really is what makes e-racing so incredibly exciting. Is these races are not over until the rider puts their wheel over the line. Jaden Yeager, we're looking at now, another one of the riders that brings a lot of talent into this group. The American, he's another rider, Nathan. If he's got 4 or 5 seconds at 1K to go, going to be incredibly hard to bring back. And here we go. They're on Libby Hill. Let the hostilities begin, Nathan.
Looks like a few riders already struggling. It's going to be Gray there as well as Unwin off the back now. Back to the front, though. Let's see what's making this happen. That's going to be Boniface again, but it's going to be Jay Reese. First time over the top, he took it. Will he distance himself again? Boniface is a little bit more savvy to it, but not going to happen, it looks like, as Reese, Boniface, Almeida. That's the order. 4, 3, 2, 1. They got the gap now. Will it come back together? They could continue on if they got the power for it, but usually with that kind of a kick, you don't got anything left in the tank, and there's a few riders who held back and are just going to close things down with plenty of bodies around them.
Yeah, and as Nathan has noted for us, watch the physics of this now. Those 3 riders, Nathan, they're all savvy. They're smart. They're hip to this. They know that holding off a group that size and watch it get bigger now is an impossibility because of the sheer momentum that this group will pick up. We were talking about that with Ed Laverick as he was dangling off the front of a group. You don't want to do that. You want to be in this group to get that, what would you call that? The word whiplash comes to mind, right? You want to be in the group when they crack the whip here at this point.
That's a perfect. I mean, whiplash there as well as, a slingshot. There is this effect that continues to snowball and avalanche to the front. And if you're not a part
of that, it's going right now.
You're going backwards real quickly. I've been off the front through that section carrying no speed, and you find yourself at a standstill at the bottom. Boniface, though, coming through perfect speed, 11 watts per kilogram, as you can see. It looks like Ollie is going to be able to take some points here today. Second there, followed by Almeida for third. But Boniface continues to rack them up for restart here. And so it's going to be Howells trying to come on through, Luke Jabel, and then Kim Little also in that top 5. Team Experimental still really well represented. As we come into the final few K, we'll still take a look who's involved, what's going to matter here with all this, because Restart, they have been dominating. Now, this is the league standings as coming in. So the reason I'm showing this is because Plastic Cockneys, they're here. They're tied, right? But Restart have racked up so many points. Oh, my gosh, what just happened there? Was that Unwin coming on through? No, Innovation with Veroli with a arrow power up. Interesting enough to see. That was just a hold on and maybe a mistake there, maybe, because that's going to be needed over the top. But maybe he thought he needed to hold on. But the Israeli, I think, here maybe said, I'm going to go on the attack, 6.4 watts per kilogram. Not through this section, though. Negative 1% gradient. After that, Restart's just going to eat this up.
So, Nathan, going back to what you were just mentioning, Restart and Plastic Cockneys. Now, Restart has tremendous numbers in this group. Plastic Cockneys not doing so poorly themselves. They're wearing, correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, but it's a black jersey, almost a bumblebee style jersey here. As we take some inventory, because that's the name of the game. These are going to be the riders that are scoring points at the finish line. There you go. That's a much better look. I don't even know what you'd call it. Almost like an 80s flashback jersey is that high vis and pink and black and blue. That's going to be Restart. That jersey right in the middle of your screen there, that's Plastic Cockneys on the back of Hart that we're looking at. So these are the 2 teams, Nathan, that are deadlocked with 36 points. It's going to be Skylab WTRL sitting in third, and that's the real conversation. But I think let's turn that conversation now to who's going to win this bike race outright, because they are locked and loaded. This is not a drill. Big-time bike racing is back on the UCI Richmond World's course, and we're going to find out who wants it more. A little bit of a reprieve for a moment here. Young Zach Herod has moved up to the front. Absolutely a rider I've been keeping my eye on. Back to you, Nathan. We're into the finale.
Yeah, watch out for WTO Skylab as well. They want to get involved. They need some big points here. Team Experimental, that's the 3rd and 4th situation on the board. So when it comes to the overall standings for the league, but really the question is for that tie currently for that first place is the Plastic Cockneys and Restart. Jaden Yager involved here. Now here comes Kim Little, though, trying to upset everything off the front a little bit here. 556 watts. Now 5.9 watts per kilogram. This is not going to last as Brett Boniface looks to shut things down. Are the Plastic Cockneys sitting perfectly? They're going to be in that yellow and black. No, they are not. They need to go now as it's Coretta opening things up. This is a huge lead out, and this is way earlier than I think some of these riders wanted to go. Boniface there with the arrow power. That's a lot of luck there from Boniface right now. Will he be able to hang on? I think he's going to do it there. Plastic Cockneys, nothing left in the tank. They are so out of this race at this point. That is not what they want to see. Is it's going to be Boniface, Coretta, Almeida, Herod, Howells in 3rd or 4th. Where did it looks like Hart finished way back in 10th. Team Experimental with some big points there with Herod as well as Kim Little being involved still in the top 10, I believe. So what a kick to the line there. Boniface took it. And, I think we're going to have a change up here as Plastic Cockneys were unable to respond to the reality of Restart and their kick to the line there.
That is what it's all about. And so they'll be hard at work calculating, Nathan. But I'm going to go with you just on paper right here. It looks to me like that was a day for the Restart boys. Not only do they have Boniface taking the win, but they did really well in the intermediate preem sprints that we had out there. They collected quite a few points along the way. Looked like a day for Restart to me. And we'll be back next week with the team time trial. The hits don't quit here in the Zwift Racing League. But that was a really interesting couple hours of racing that we witnessed. That we saw it all out there on the UCI Worlds course today.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if we can bring in the results here real quickly. I know we have not been showing all of them because Zwift Power was struggling a little bit earlier, but it does look like we are able to get a little bit of something for everybody here real quickly. So we'll get into that, and then we are going to sign off because we've got more broadcasting to go for the rest of the day here. Lots and lots of broadcasting going on. So it does look like we're looking to try and bring this in here. Now I'm
hearing it's not good.
It
sounds like Zwift Power is not quite fired back up yet.
Not quite there yet. Waiting on
I think
ZP
like the great.
Still, it looks like. Well,
so I think
seeing
it was
the women's race. It looks like, I believe. Let me get the okay, and we'll go ahead and show these. As in the women's race, I am seeing a Catherine Curry, Daniela Estrate, Lizzie Duncombe. It looks like it's in the correct order there. And women should be go. So let's go take a look at that, and then we'll head on over to men's if it does load up. This is the situation that went down in the women's race. Catherine Curry, she was dominating out there today with a solid kick, half a second over Daniela Estrate, then Lizzie Duncombe for that Soxer Watts team. But I raced like a girl. They get a kick in points. We'll see how it ends up playing out for the league. And if I Race Like a Girl can make their way up a little bit, then Aeonian, though, with a dominating in that top 10 as well. As it's going to be Soxer Watts, though, with a 3rd and a 5th. Meth McIver gets in between that with that 4th, though. And then it's going to be Maria Frisk, Jamie Lee Wright, Harriet Gilson, Kristen Yax, and then Luis Gamps. So that's a tightly contested one, but I think Aeonian is most likely going to walk away with the lead continuing into the next week. Becca there coming on in, no last name, but just Becca coming out of the UK with 4.0 watts per kilogram in the B category. 48.52. Melanie Dobbins coming on through, followed up by Chantel Kotzer, and it's going to be JD Bergkamp. Ariel Verhaeren, followed up by Eva Marshall, Michelle Bennett, Natasha Smith, Annette Golowska, and then Kelly Murden. Over to you, Dave, for the C category.
Thank you. It's going to be Shanti LaRue taking the win. The gold medal that goes with it. She's out of South Africa. Norwegian Katrine Ringdahl for silver, and Christina Ronja, the German, in 3rd. Malin Bengtsson in 4th. The Swede, another Norwegian, Tine Miriam, in 5th. It's Kelsey Tranell and her American compatriot, Amy Weissman, taking 6th and 7th. Then you've got Vicky Stedman in 8th, Niven Kafaga in 9th, and then Camilla Edvinsson Stenvold, the Swedish rider. Rounding out our top 10, I'll jump right into the Ds as well, as Karen Vidrak, the Dutch rider, taking the win. Steph White out of Wales for silver. Chelsea Williams. So a couple of riders out of the United Kingdom there, as it'll be Sarah Carneal in 4th, Chelsea Williams for the bronze. Scottish rider Elaine Scott in 5th, Lou Oakley in 6th, Asa Tobiasen in 7th, Melissa Sargent for 8th, Nina Steinberg 9th, and Lizzie Archer rounding out our top 10 for the D women. Congratulations to all of our racers for taking on the mighty UCI Richmond Worlds course, one of the most challenging courses that we race on week in, week out. Nathan, one thing is for sure, we always find a worthy winner in Richmond. No one has ever faked their way across the finish line here.
No, that's definitely for sure. Richmond always is one that will tell you who's got fitness. That is for sure. It will tell you who is the ones to watch out for and who's been putting their homework, who's been doing the work. Richmond's always one of the most difficult courses on. And it's my favorite race course, being from the off-road world. You know, when I first came into road, I was like, why doesn't the strongest guy win? I was like, wait. What's going on here? So, and Richmond definitely brings out the strongest, in my opinion. So great to see. I am getting word that we will not get it looks like we will not get the men's results in time. So they are not loading across for the A category. I will quickly run through we'll give a shout out. You know, we didn't give coverage to the, video coverage to the C's and the D's. Let's go ahead and at least throw down for the men's C and D's, though, because they did one lap out there, so they finished up before Zwift Power Crash for them. So let's go ahead and show what's happening there real quick, as it's going to be Thomas Reinecke across the line there in first place in 23:28. Then Basti Locken followed up by Sven Simons, Gus Robinson, Joe Hadwalder. Then it's going to be Christian McDonald. Good to see Christian out there. McDonald, Brian Monaghan, and then Ulf Quinton Kuhn Bale Makers, and then Baz Hershey, followed up by, in the D category, Adrian Tansley, followed up by Philip Ramsdale, Damon Leake, Robert Fleming, William N.G., followed up by Frank S. for 6th, Andre Pino Isaac, Simon O'Hara, John R., and then Randy Latour, I believe that is out of Belgium. So that's going to be a situation there in the C and D category for the men's West. All right, we're going to be jumping back into the Americas in just a couple of hours, everybody. If you want to tune in for that, make sure to hit those follow buttons, America's East and America's West. I was invited to race tonight, Dave, and I'm like,
yeah?
in the Zwift Racing League. I've been jumping into that DDC, and, it's been a lot of fun in the team time trial. If you guys haven't done the team time trial and you're not a part of the Zwift Racing League, find a team on Thursdays. What's cool is we're doing the waistband on Thursday. We're doing the waistband next week in ZRL. So it's a warm-up for sure. So people are going to be out there practicing. It's going to be a very hotly contested WTRL TTT on Thursday. But we still got a couple of races tonight. I'll be back with Dave in just a couple of hours for the East. And then Kate and Dave will be on for the West. Make sure to tune in for that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We've been on for a while. So we're going to go take a break. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon. Right on.